Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Council begged Uzumaki Naruto to join it so that Team 7 can enter the Chuunin Exams. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Sodium Bicarb and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Uzumaki Naruto knew from a young age that he wasn't like other children. Other children weren't spit upon or mugged, they weren't thrown out of shops and refused service. They weren't guilty until proven innocent. They were loved and cherished like a precious treasures. He didn't mind though, because sure he didn't have a mom or a dad, but he still had his precious people. He had Hokage Jiji and Itachi-san and Iruka-sensei, all of whom taught him just the same. Hokage Jiji taught him how to deal and sort with paperwork, even though Naruto wasn't going to have any when he was Hokage. Itachi-san taught him all about being a proper shinobi. He taught him how to throw kunai and shuriken, taught him all of his hand seals, his katas taught him little things every time they met. But Iruka-sensei was the best. Most of the time, he taught Naruto how to cook, clean, read, write, do laundry, boring stuff, but every once in a while, Iruka would teach him how to prank. Naruto loved pranking. He promised the Hokage not to prank him so much because the old man was busy, but everyone else was fair game. And Naruto was all for equality. He painted the Hokage mountain, tarred and feathered shinobi, rigged the sound of bees to play every time his least favorite shopkeepers left their shops, making them duck and cover. He thought it was only fair, since they always upped their prices when their least favorite demon child came in. After a month of constant pranking, Iruka made him promise that he would lay off for a while. Civilians were jumpy and already paranoid shinobi were becoming even more paranoid. Naruto agreed, if only because he figured that the anticipation was worse than anything he could think of. And though his favorite people, who were also the most awesome people in the village, Dadabeo, taught him many things, the one thing that Naruto really wanted to learn was the only thing that they outright refused to tell him. Why he was hated. It was a hatred that shinobi and civilians alike agreed on, no matter the vast amount of differences between the two. At first he thought that it was just one of those things that he would learn with age. All the adults knew it. Maybe his family did something bad and he would learn about it in an academy history book. But if that was true, then there was no reason that he couldn't be told right now, right? There was no reason that he had to wait until he was older, he was already 6. The Hokage was very strict on the subject and made Naruto swear that he wouldn't go digging for information. Naruto had never seen the old man so serious, so he agreed. That old man didn't become Hokage for nothing, after all, he'd probably whoop Naruto's ass into next year if he disobeyed. Asking Iruka made the man stare silently before drilling Naruto on exactly what the villagers did to make him come to the conclusion that they hated him. Iruka and Mother Hen mode was a little like a massacre, so Naruto didn't ask him anymore for the sake Konoha civilians. Itachi handled the question eloquently. He patted Naruto's head and told him that if he had enough breath to ask questions, he had enough breath to run faster, except that there were less words said and more interpreted silences. It didn't matter though, because Naruto was quickly becoming proficient in Uchiha-ise. At the end of his lesson, Itachi told him that if the Hokage ordered it, as a good shinobi, he had a duty to follow that order, so Naruto pretended to ignore the glares and focused on his training, because that's what good shinobi do. Jiji would tell him when the time was right. Hopefully. But then Jiji said that he couldn't be a shinobi because of the stupid council. But you're the Hokage. They have to listen to you. He screamed. He remembered Itachi's hand on his head, stilling him. I wish that were true, my boy. But I'm gonna be Hokage. I'm gonna make the villagers respect and love me, and I'm gonna protect them and save them, and he screamed, but the old man just smiled sadly at him, the wide brim of his hat dipping down. Naruto. I know. And he looked so sad when he said those last 2 words that Naruto stopped his rampage. But why? He asked curiously. It couldn't be Jiji's decision if he looked so sad after telling him. The Hokage gave a weary sigh and pressed a palm against his temple. Is it because of the thing you can't tell me? The reason why the villagers all hate me? Naruto asked quietly. Itachi dropped his hand to Naruto's shoulder and squeezed gently. Yes. Then why can't you tell me what it is? Why does it stop me from being a shinobi? Am I going to die? Is that it? I have an incurable disease. The boy shrieked. The other 2 people in the room gave external sighs. No, you don't have a disease, Naruto, but Hokage-sama, perhaps this is the time. Itachi began. Weasel. The Hokage shot him a stern look, but Itachi was unfazed. With all due respect, sir, it's more harmful for him not to know. He's already thinking of worse situations, he said. Sarutobi agreed, a little. Naruto had an overactive imagination and would no doubt theorize a worse truth than just being a jailer. Not that being a Jinchuriki wasn't a terrible burden, it was, but at least Naruto's seal was stable. And other than making him the village pariah, sealed demons almost always gave some advantages to their hosts. Sarutobi stared sadly at his young charge. The council was afraid that the fox would escape if Naruto learned to utilize chakra. They didn't understand anything about the seal, no matter how many times Sarutobi assured them. Some days Sarutobi wanted to leave the ignorant people on the council with an unstable Jinchuriki, just so that they could see what a living, ticking time bomb was really like. Naruto was nothing like them, he was stable, cheerful, driven. Alright, he groused. Naruto's ears perked up. What do you know about the Third Shinobi War? He started. The fourth Hokage kicked butt. Naruto sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. History never stuck with him. Yes, that is true, Sandaime gave a short chuckle. But there was also a great nine-tailed demon called the Kyuubi, Naruto finished. Then he gasped. The Hokage frowned. Yes, Naruto, but how did you know that? The boy shifted from side to side. Some of the shopkeepers call me Kyuubi brat or demon scum. It isn't too hard to put the two together, old man, he replied sheepishly. Itachi's lips pressed together in a firm line while the Sandaime reigned in his anger. Naruto. I want you to know that you're not the demon, just its container. The fourth Hokage wanted you to be known as a hero after he sealed the Kyuubi in you as a baby. It's okay, old man. I knew that already. Besides, I'll be fighting for them, so they'll see that I'm not the Kyuubi, Naruto grinned, his left hand holding Itachi's arm as he gestured wildly. Itachi's lips quirked upwards in a fond smile. Naruto, they won't let you go to the academy, the Hokage said. Well, Naruto thought for a moment and then his face brightened. Don't worry, Jiji. They just don't want me fightin', right? I can just be like your student Tsunade Basan. I'll be a super good medic and save thousands of lives and then the village will respect me and then I'll become the Hokage, believe it. Naruto nodded his head self-assuredly. Sarutobi laughed. No one could suppress Naruto's optimism. That's a good dream, but you have a little too much chakra to have fine control over it, Naruto. How can you know that yet? I don't even know how to use this chakra, the blonde boy replied with air quotes. Itachi swatted his head. It's what you use to make a henge, Naruto. Sarutobi could have swore that he saw Itachi's eye roll underneath an askew Anbu mask that covered only the top part of the teen's face. Intuition. But there is an art that I believe that you would excel in, and if you master it, even the council couldn't hold you back, Sarutobi began. The boy's blue eyes grew larger as he gazed happily at him. Something that would make those old farts accept him. Dadabeo. Of course he would take it. Yeah, old man. I'll be so good at whatever it is that the world shall know me as the god of whatever it is. What is it? Sarutobi chuckled. If Minato's son didn't inherit some of his intuition in Fuuinjutsu, Sarutobi Hiruzen would eat his Hokage hat. Just a week later, he and Iruka helped Naruto move into the Namikaze compound. He only said that the previous owner wouldn't mind Naruto moving in and that the compound was well protected from intruders and that there was a veritable library of Fuuinjutsu scrolls. Naruto took it with the grace of a child who listened to his elders when it suited him and he didn't even question the Hokage when the old man asked him to smear a little blood of his blood on the door. He learned later that it was a clan preservation seal that would only disengage when someone with a blood bond to the family smeared blood on it and that led to him finding out who his father was. Iruka helped the boy acquaint himself with his new home while Sarutobi walked around the compound. Iruka didn't know what he expected, but he didn't expect to see dustless rooms stripped of personality but still full of furniture. Even the Hyuga clan's rooms had more personality than this. The living room was colorless, but the couch was comfortable and the bookcases looked sturdy but didn't have a single book on them. As he inspected the rooms, checking for traps, he heard Naruto's exclamations of happiness. Look. Iruka. Hot water. No more mold in my kitchen. Sugoi. All of the windows have glass. And not for the first since he'd met Naruto, Iruka considered killing the orphanage matron. Come on, Naruto. Let's go pick a bedroom for you, Iruka ushered the boy into a hallway. The compound wasn't large, but it was built in a square formation with a courtyard in the middle. When guests entered, they passed through a long walkway where herbs, fruits, and vegetables were grown on both sides. Then, after they took off their shoes in the entryway, a sliding door in front of them opened to expose the view of the courtyard within, which held flowers instead of food, and a large clear pond in the middle. Around the large pond was smaller ponds which held varieties of fish. Traveling through the hallways on either side led to the kitchen, empty rooms, and several studies, without books. It puzzled Iruka when he explored, but the Hokage chuckled at his confusion and called for Naruto to him. They stood at the back of the compound, in a hallway that faced a tall, stone wall that encased the compound. Naruto, could you please smear a little more of your blood on this wall? The Hokage said. Naruto quirked a brow. Okay, Jiji, but I think you might be going crazy, but he did as he was told. The wall shimmered for a moment before a door appeared. Oh, good. I wasn't sure if the seals were deteriorated too much for that to work, the Hokage chuckled. Iruka's and Naruto's jaws hit the floor. Jijiji. Is that what I'm gonna learn? The boy exclaimed excitedly. The Hokage opened the door and nudged the two towards a previously hidden hallway. The newly uncovered rooms had enough personality to make up for the frontal rooms. They were bright and eclectic. Orange chairs sat in a room with a purple couch in the secondary living room. The bedrooms were small, but cozy. Sarutobi stood next to Iruka, speaking softly. After the 100th assassination attempt, the owner moved his living quarters back here and sealed them up. Only people without harmful intent and loyalty to the family can come through. He kept those front rooms for entertaining formal guests and assassins. I asked him what happened if someone tried to land in the backyard, and he said that the assassin would sail over the actual rooms and land on the roof of the back of the square. Ingenious, really. Namaki's Minato was such an extraordinary shinobi that it made his death fatal blow to Konoha's power and made Sarutobi's search for a second successor that much harder. But if Minato was extraordinary when he picked up Fuuinjutsu in his 20s, then Naruto would be legendary if he started now. I understand that you requested to live with Naruto, but your move and his disappearance from his apartment without a change of address would raise questions, especially so close to the Kyuubi festival. Eventually, someone is going to follow you and end up here. Now, I firmly believe in Minato's seals, but I don't expect anyone else to have the same blind devotion as me. I hope that after you've seen Minato's handiwork that you could entrust Naruto's safety to this house, Sarutobi finished. With his peripheral vision, he saw the sad understanding in Iruka's eyes. It'll be alright, it wasn't like Sarutobi banned them from having ramen together. After they left, Naruto paced around his new bedroom nervously. Iruka made some fried rice before he left, looking decidedly uncomfortable in the pink and white kitchen. Jiji, on the other hand, seemed perfectly at home. They left right after dinner, but before that, they left several books on chakra, history, etiquette, and calligraphy. Fuuinjutsu, Jiji explained, would only work if Naruto fixed his handwriting, which looked like meaningless Fuuinjutsu diagrams themselves. Naruto stacked the books on the floor by his bed and willed himself to sleep, but sleep didn't come easily. He had to succeed. Jiji said that if he managed to learn Fuuinjutsu, there was no way that the council could refuse to let him be a shinobi, but what if he wasn't good at it? What if he couldn't do it at all? No. He could do it. He wouldn't let any of his precious people down. Hey Naruto, I have an assignment for you, Iruka said, holding a slightly crumpled mission report at arm length as he glared at it. Yeah, sensei. Naruto swung his legs off the stool and ambled to the man's side. Iruka directed his sight towards the ceiling. The new mission's desk Chuunin let this report through, but it's practically illegible. I was wondering if you could transcribe it for me. Usually I'd hunt the shinobi involved, but you need to practice your handwriting, and this mission isn't classified. Naruto nodded his head, took the report, and went to sit on his stool again. After a week of studying the books, he'd only made progress on the calligraphy. He'd felt stupid after rereading the same passage about chakra for the third time, then failing to do the chakra control exercise that the chapter outlined after trying for the whole day, but Iruka assured him that he only needed better studying methods. Iruka's kind words encouraged him to try harder. Naruto squinted at the pages. This isn't so bad, sensei. We could both easily read this. He exclaimed. Iruka smiled. That's because I'm constantly grading academy students' essays, and your handwriting used to be as bad as that. Trust me, we're a part of the small percentage of shinobi that can read that report. Whatever, sensei. Iruka chuckled at Naruto's consequential pout. Iruka would have liked to say that the two sat in silence and were extremely productive, but silence was never possible when Naruto was involved. He would transcribe a paragraph, then a nin would arrive to turn in his report, which Iruka would look over and mostly likely reject, because for some ungodly reason, most nin, especially Anbu, thought that they could get away with turning in reports with 5 lines and written on the back of a muddy receipt just because the mission was classified and no one other than the Hokage would read it. And Naruto would rapid-fire questions about shinobi life. Within 2 hours, Iruka warded off 5 death threats, none of which had to do with Naruto's secret. How much have you finished? Iruka asked an hour before his shift was over. Naruto sat beside him, tongue sticking out of the corner of his mouth as he concentrated on forming his letters. Almost there. Naruto waved a dismissive hand towards Iruka, who smiled to himself and kept quiet until the boy finished. All done. Naruto thrust a finished transcribed report under Iruka's nose. The man hummed and began leafing through the papers. He circled several spelling errors that Naruto made. Then, he handed the marked paper back. Naruto groaned. Sensei. Your handwriting has definitely improved, but you made some mistakes. I expect a revised copy tomorrow. Naruto wasn't tricked by those eye smiles, the man was pure evil. If you do well tomorrow, I promise to treat you to a chirakus. Ramen. Naruto-kun. MMFF. Itachi. What you doing here? He mumbled as he faced the shadow crouched on his windowsill. The man's Anbu mask was skewed on his face so that Naruto could see the spinning wheels of the Sharingan. I'm going to be leaving Konoha for a while. Wait. Why? You can't leave. Naruto. I'm leaving. I'm here to tell you that you should start to harness the Kyuubi's power. It's power. But I don't want to be a demon. Don't be foolish. You two are separate beings, but you can draw on the beast's chakra, which is more potent than human chakra. It'll be best if you learn to utilize it, Itachi finished. With the moonlight framing his crouched figure, Itachi looked more like an Anbu than all the times that Naruto saw him bloody and triumphant in the Hokage's office. He nodded mutely. What about your brother? He'll miss you. I'll miss you. Itachi sighed. Partly fond, partly exasperated. Do not worry about my brother, that's taken care of, and then he leapt off the windowsill and down the wall. If not for the Uchiha massacre that happened that same night, Naruto would have sworn it was all a dream. Why did Itachi leave? He asked the next morning. When the Hokage didn't answer him, Naruto didn't ask him again. The old man had bigger and more important things to do than to sugarcoat things for a child, even if Naruto didn't need that kind of care. It didn't make sense for Itachi to murder his entire clan, but, Naruto supposed, if he had to, Itachi would spare his younger brother. That ruled out an impostor because any impostor would have let Itachi's mom and dad live too. But Itachi wasn't bloodthirsty. He didn't play games or joke around, but he was still a good person and unrelatedly, the perfect Anbu. For him to kill his clan. And for him to visit Naruto the same night. Are you sure that I can't go to the academy? He never met Itachi's younger brother, but surely they could be friends. I'm afraid not, Naruto, but how are your studies coming along? I heard from Iruka-kun that your calligraphy and handwriting has really improved. None of the occupants in the room commented on the blatant misdirection. Later, when Itachi was declared a Nukenin, Naruto wondered if Jiji was going senile because even he knew that Itachi didn't kill without orders from a superior. Unless the orders were from Jiji and the old man was fooling everyone. For the first time, Naruto felt a drop of gratefulness towards the council because there was a dark side to everything, and for shinobi, this was it. Make sure that your hand is steady. Your last stroke was a little sloppy. Is the ink too watery? Iruka twittered above Naruto, scrutinizing the soon-to-be explosive tag. I got this, sensei. The boy snapped back, but Iruka saw the beads of sweat on the blonde's face. Before they could purchase the appropriate paper, the Hokage informed them about the dangers of an incorrect seal, complete with a slideshow of pictures. Are those Fu? Yes, sensei. They're pointed in the right direction. Naruto rolled his eyes as he stood up and admired his handiwork. The complete seal was obviously drawn by an amateur, but it was precise enough for the seal to still work. Well, hopefully. Ready, sensei? Naruto turned expectantly at Iruka. Iruka gave a quick prayer to the shinobi gods and nodded. The duo stood in one of the lesser-used training grounds, one filled with enough potholes and rocks for them to hide behind. Okay. Kage no Bushin. And a second Naruto popped onto the field. That jutsu was the first one he'd ever learned, and a kinjutsu at that. The Hokage stressed the importance of its secrecy, but taught it to the blonde anyways, because using solid clones allowed Naruto to test seals without being in any real danger. Hey boss. It waved. Okay soldier. Time to activate the explosive tag. Yada. The original Naruto and Iruka hid behind a rock. Here I go. The clone screamed. Hop. Bye I am MMMM. Iruka immediately pulled a standing Naruto down behind the rock, crouching down as small as they could go. All around them tree branches and debris flew. The all-encompassing light left spots in their eyes minutes after they'd closed them. In his head, Iruka thanked the Hokage for teaching Naruto shadow clones. So we know that it works. Naruto stated hesitantly. Iruka held a hand to his heart, teaching Naruto was more dangerous than assassinations. Yeah, maybe less chakra next time. He replied when his heartbeats returned to normal. Yeah, that stupid clone put his all into it, too enthusiastic, but at least he popped before the exploding tag ignited. It would have sucked to die that way. Yeah. They stood up and stared at the center of the training grounds, taking in the crater and the scorch marks on the trees. Anbu arrived an instant later, questioning them and assessing the damage, but the duo stared absently at Naruto's handiwork. They spent the next 3 months working exclusively with different types of explosive tags, if only so they could create a controlled version of the huge explosive they saw with the first tag. Old man. I can earn my keep now. Naruto stood on the other side of the Sandame's desk, head lolling left and right on the wood. 2 years of living in the compound and eating healthy did wonders to the boy's stature. He was still a little on the short side, but now he was at a healthy weight. I've told you before, Naruto, that your allowance is from the orphan fund. I know that, but you and Iruka Nai are always giving me gifts or treating me to ramen. I just wanted to make some money so that I could take you guys out to ramen. The boy blushed, looking away from the Hokage even though his head was still on the desk. Sarutobi chuckled. The blonde must have found out that Iruka's birthday was coming up soon. Okay, Naruto. What are you suggesting? So, last Friday I was with Iruka Nai at the mission's desk and this hunter came in with his head wrapped up in a shirt and Iruka shrieked because it smelled to high heaven and was dripping everywhere. The hunter said that she had to drop off the head immediately because she was dripping all over the floor too. At this, Naruto motioned with his arms the size of the wound. Sarutobi nodded. And she dropped off these slashed scrolls. I knew they were storage scrolls, so I asked Sensei why didn't she just put the head in there, but apparently damaged scrolls can't be used because the seal is disrupted and apparently scrolls like that are always damaged in a fight because they're so noticeable, so I said, why don't they just carry smaller scrolls? But then Sensei said that the seals can't be condensed to fit in that tiny space. Naruto stopped and rummaged through his pockets. So, I thought, why don't they just put shrinking seals on the scrolls, because I just read about them. Turns out, they're a little too big to put on the handle of the scroll, which is where I would put it. I mean, it guessed that I could integrate it with the storage seal, but then there's always a chance that I might make the item super tiny and the storage seal stable, and I'm not good enough yet to mess with time-space seals, so this way is just easier. I made some modifications to the shrinking seal, just several substitutions, and after several tries, I made what I wanted. He lifted his hands and in them was a scroll the size of finger. And it's super easy to use. At first I made the seal activated by putting chakra in it, but I thought, what if someone poached it? I mean, if kids can pickpocket, then there's no reason that shinobi can't pickpocket each other, right? So I made it blood activated, like the clan house seals, and bam. Personalized hunter nin scrolls. He held one out. The Hokage picked it up and inspected it. The seals were clean, free of errant twigs in the brush, and the seals were simple enough that he mostly sure what was going on. Amazing. If this worked as well as Naruto said, the hunters would be worshipping the boy. But I'm not sure about deterioration of the seal. All the scrolls said that it wouldn't last more than 10 years, but I'm almost positive that it'll last at least 7. But if they need for it to last longer, I could. No. Hunter nin usually retire before their 10th year. And we could issue new ones after 5 years. But, who is this scroll attuned to? Oh. Well, that one's mine. I've been field testing it with groceries and stuff. It's held up for 2 months so far. Sarutobi stared incredulously at Naruto's peace sign. This boy, he thought fondly. Alright. Could you make one for me? I need to present it to the Oinin captain for approval, then I'll need you to make more so that they can do actual field testing. If they like it, I'll draw up a contract for you and we'll bring Iruka to make sure that you understand everything. Yada, old man. I already made a complete seal, I just need your blood to complete it. At this, he drew out a normal-sized scroll and held it sideways to the Hokage. Just put several drops of blood in the middle of that circle there. On both sides, he pointed to the center of the handle, where a clear spot was, surrounded by tiny Fuuinjutsu scribbles. What happens if blood gets on the seal instead of in the center? He asked curiously. Nothing, really. That just makes the scroll smell faintly of blood. If the blood only gets in the circle, then the seal absorbs it all, he shrugged. I figured it's not such a big deal as long as you don't stab yourself too deep to get some blood. The Hokage bit his thumb and let several drops of blood land into each circle. The blood instantly disappeared. Nodding to himself, Naruto took back the scroll and drew a symbol over the circle where the blood disappeared into, so that blood relatives can't use it, he supplied. Sarutobi nodded. Angry relatives stealing family heirlooms was a common problem, one that was hard to fix since blood seals were considering the most secure. The firefly light flashed from the sealed end as Naruto put chakra in it. All done. The scroll remained its original size. So, to make it smaller and back, just rub a little of your blood on the handles and push some chakra into it as well. Oh, and the blood needs to be fresh, so if the owner dies, it's gonna be a pain to force open the seal, and you can't open the scroll unless it's in its original form, so the size seal doubles as a security thing. Naruto finished proudly. Sarutobi mentally agreed that it was well deserved. I'll send a messenger hawk after the Oinin captain has decided. Okay Jiji. But he's going to agree because I'm awesome. Dadabeo. Take that, stupid council. Naruto yelled, shaking his fists angrily at the sky as he walked out of the office. After learning the Academy 3, it seemed as if Naruto's interest in the shinobi arts dwindled. Iruka didn't know whether to be happy or concerned because Naruto's disinterest was proportional to his devotion to Fuuinjutsu. He still did his taijutsu katas, but he had virtually no interest in ninjutsu. Iruka never thought that there would be a day when he encouraged a student to learn the subject. They usually did just fine with it themselves. He'd brought several scrolls with D-rank jutsus to the compound and introduced each one to Naruto. The boy listened attentively, but after a moment's thought, he reached for the Doten. Really? Out of a pile with Kaiten, always a favorite, Suiton, Fuutin, and Doten techniques, the boy chose Doten. Really? Are you sure? Haruka stared at the scroll as if it were the goldfish in a pile of trout. Of course. This is perfect for filling up any holes I make on the training grounds. Last time we tested that exploding tag, Gigi made me fill in all those holes by myself while you were at the academy teaching. I mean, sure, I got paid, but I wasn't allowed to use Kage Bushin at all. He wailed. But that way Haruka shook his head. At least Naruto picked a useful, to him, jutsu instead of a flashy one. When did he start growing up? He thought fondly. True to karma, Naruto made the hand seals right there. In the living room. Rumble rumble rumble. And then an earthen wall sprang up from the floorboards, ruining everything in its path. I probably should have done that outside. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Naruto. Hello, Kit. Naruto craned his neck as he glanced at the giant demon fox in his head's stomach body. Whatever. Iubi, he replied. The fox stared at him for several seconds more before laying down and resting his head on his front paws. You have finally taken that cursed man's words to heart, it stated, yawning. Its long canines glinted dangerously in the dim light. Itachi. Yeah, Naruto mumbled distractedly, still taking in the sight of the demon fox. A demon in his body. He watched the flowing tails, thrumming up and down impatiently, the sharpened claws, the elongated canines, the smug grin. If anything was nightmare personified, it would be this. The fox gave him another disinterested glance before closing its eyes. I want to offer a truce, the boy said. The Kyuubi slept on. So that I won't try to devour your soul whole. Again. Naruto remembered the last time he almost died while testing a new seal. Not fun times. Yes. But because I think that your chakra could be key to making some of the more intricate seals work. Or kill him. But fortune favors the bold, and he was certainly being very bold. And why, puny human, should I care about that? This was it. His ace in the hole. Because I think that I can give you a corporeal form. Impertinent brat. Do not lie to me. The Shinigami's will cannot be bypassed. It reared its head, tailed lashing at the sewer walls as its angry eyes bore into Naruto's soul. The boy willed himself to speak, but his legs trembled. He took in a deep breath. Stupid fox. Do you think that I would offer something like that if I wasn't sure that it could happen? No one's stupid enough to lie to a freaking demon. I've been in library for months reading the theoretical Uzumaki scrolls. The seals are complete, but are impossible only because the energy required to fuel one is astronomical. That's where you come in. Teach me how to harness your chakra like Itachi said, and I can create a Bushin body for you. Tell me, boy, what use would I have for a Bushin body? Well the seals create an elemental Bushin, which are linked closely with nature. Because of the matrices, you should be able to channel natural chakra to strengthen your body so that your body won't be weak to the opposite chakra nature. And if I pump enough chakra into the seals, your body won't dispel with hits. Show me these seals, Kit. Your idea has merit, but I will judge its practicality, myself, Kyuubi said quietly, eyes opening. How do I do that? Just think of the memory, and I will be able to see it. The sewer walls shimmered before color bled onto them. Naruto spun around in circles, fascinated as his memories played on the wall for the Kyuubi to see. The author of the scrolls said that whenever he tried to create one of those Bushin, the seals on his hands, the second and third, fizzled out. He theorized that it was because he didn't have enough chakra or chakra control to make the chakra flow into the symbols and stay there. The one on the ground worked fine, though. I figured that if I used your chakra, which is stronger, I won't have to worry keeping a steady amount flowing to the seals as much. I'd just have to put in a little bit of your chakra once or twice to activate the seals. And if you screw up, you could explode your hands off, Kyuubi snorted. Naruto grimaced at the thought. And then you'll just heal them. Because I don't think that you want a hands-less vessel if you can help it, and I would have blown off my hands for you, Naruto replied cheekily. Kyuubi's canines made another appearance as it grinned. I could kill all of you once I'm in that Bushin. I thought about that too. Only your spirit would transfer into the Bushin, your chakra and essence would still remain with me. And since natural chakra is less potent than demon chakra, any techniques that you'll try to use will probably fail. So you'll just be able to roam around. I mean, this place is pretty depressing, he spread his arms around. Water dripped from the sewer ceiling. At least, he hoped it was water. You have thought this through. I approve. You may call me Kurama, Kit. Thank you, Kurama-sama. I am surprised, though, that you did not ask me why I destroyed your miserable village, Kurama asked offhandedly as Naruto was preparing to leave. The boy looked up. Honestly, I'm afraid of your answer. With a rueful smile, Naruto disappeared from his mindscape. When he was in a mood, Naruto tended to his garden. The courtyard usually maintained itself, considering that it was just full of decorative pretty flowers. The only thing he found a practical use for were these purple flowers that grew on the roots of Japanese maple by the largest pond. He'd read in one of the books that it was good for coughs and fevers, it was also fragrant and slightly sweet, so he frequently boiled it with his tea. The other flowers were only good for attracting bees, which he wasn't fond of at all. The front yard, however, was filled with useful plants. Along the eastern wall was a large garden already tilled and planted. There were rows for eggplants, carrots, vegetables of all types, and surrounding that plot were fruit trees, but only one of each fruit. It gave him just enough for the season. He could just plant some more if he wanted to sell some. Along the western wall, beyond poisonous berry bushes, was a plot full of herbs. Naruto and Kurama spent weeks there with an assortment of gardening and plant books, trying to figure out what each herb was. So far, they'd only identified the common ones, such as an herb that he could ground up and make into a paste for burns, and one for itching. He also figured out what poison ivy was the hard way when he touched a vine growing along the wall. Naruto realized early on that he could transfer his chakra into the ground and into the plants, which made them healthier. They didn't grow any faster, but once they were done, they rarely had any mutations from crop diseases. That, and channeling chakra made his plant sensitive to him, or more precisely, his chakra. Once, when Iruka came to visit, they'd entered the herb garden to pick some tea leaves. Iruka approached some of the flowers, fascinated because he'd never seen any like them in Konoha, but as soon as he touched them, they closed. Vines shrank from him too. But when Naruto came up behind him, exclaiming how weird that was, the flowers reopened and vines poked at his ankles. Huh. That's strange, he shrugged, but Iruka stood there, thinking. You feed them your chakra, right? He asked. Well, yeah. I do the same thing as when I walk on water, but you know, on Earth. Naruto shrugged. I wonder what would happen if I fed them my chakra, could I try? Naruto nodded. Iruka started to spread his chakra into the ground, but the ground repelled it. Could it be that the ground is too saturated with Naruto's chakra? What about the air? Iruka asked himself curiously. He stopped channeling his chakra to his feet and instead made the hand seals. Mizu no Bushin. He cried out loud. A watery image appeared for a second before it dissipated. Seconds later, tree roots shot out of the ground and wrapped themselves around his legs. He stood, trapped and dumbfounded for several minutes before turning towards Naruto. Well, it looks like I don't have to worry about ninja breaking into your home. Iruka's eyes held a glint as he imagined what would happen to enemy shinobi. He'd only used a minimum amount of chakra because the air was extremely humid and it wasn't that hard to draw out the water, but if he'd put in any more chakra, he didn't doubt that the root would have encased him and that the twitching vines would have been added to the fray as well. Sorry, sensei, the blonde apologized as he coaxed the vines to let the man go. Iruka waved his hand dismissively and smiled. Don't worry about it, Naruto. They're a good defense. Come. Let's finish picking the tea leaves. Naruto researched more into giving Kurama a solid form, but was reluctant to try anything until he could copy the seals perfectly. His calligraphy was passable now, much better than most adults, and on par with the leaders of the noble clans, but it still lacked the easy grace of the calligraphy in the scrolls he read. A man named Jiraiya added small flourishes to his symbols that didn't affect the seal, but made it more like a design. It also assured that if someone tried to copy it exactly, they would fail if they so much as accidentally made a stroke a millimeter off, since it was hard to decipher the necessary from the adornments. Naruto liked to look at his designs, but if he adapted it, it would become cumbersome for very complex seals. Uzumaki Mito looped her symbols together when she wasn't drawing teaching diagrams, which must have worked for her, but wouldn't work for him. She could string 4 separate seals together and make them look like one large one. With a cursory glance, it would look like a very intricate seal, but upon closer inspection, one could spot the separate simple seals. For her to know exactly which extraneous strokes she could add to confuse enemies and discourage the copying of her original seals spoke to her proficiency. Naruto wasn't that proficient yet, or maybe ever, but she really did have nice handwriting, he liked to read it. Naruto liked Namika's Minato seals the best. They were clean and precise, each character exactly where it should be. They looked like they were easy to copy until Naruto tried and realized that a stroke too long or too short, a flick at the wrong angle, or lines too thick made the entire character grossly mutated. Every mistake was emphasized. But he was still inexperienced. He still had time to develop his own style. He was about to dip his brush into the inkwell for some more practice when his wrist gave a twitch. He sighed, that was Kurama's signal that he should take a break. Baka Fox, I need to practice to be Fuuinjutsu master, he grumbled, but headed towards the kitchen for a snack anyways. Brat. You'll never be a decent ninja if you don't practice your other skills, Kurama growled. You have an enormous amount of chakra, yet you don't feel a need to use it. What a waste. He was sick of watching the boy kneeling on the ground painting squiggly figures. He wanted some action, damn it. I use it, the boy shrugged, I just feel that it's more useful to channel my chakra into the soil to grow my plants. They filter out the poisonous properties of your chakra and use the natural part to their advantage. This way, I'm slowly increasing my capacity while having fresh fruits and vegetables, he shrugged as he grabbed a plate of onigiri and headed towards the courtyard. He loved sitting by the ponds. The fox mumbled something about how he'd prefer some meat and maybe a little more eggplant. Why don't you use it around Konoha? You'd have a very loyal forest at your beck and call, Kurama sneered. Naruto snorted. And have the chakra sensors on my tail? No thank you. And I saw how violent the plants added when Iruka-sensei used his chakra. If I kept spreading my chakra like I do here, no shinobi would be able to practice ninjutsu again. Kid was smarter than Kurama gave him credit for. Naruto walked on top of the largest pond, small ripples spreading from his feet. In his cage, Kurama rolled his eyes. Naruto did chakra control exercises, but didn't use any techniques that required fine control. You do know that I am a veritable wealth of ninjutsu, right? And? Naruto closed his eyes and meditated. I could teach you. Not interested. Brat. I know that you love your Fuuinjutsu and all, but ninjutsu has its own perks. You shouldn't dismiss it. Naruto sighed. I know. It's just the council won't let me into the academy, but Jiji said that I had a chance if I learn Fuuinjutsu because not many people know it. If I don't master it, then I can't convince the council that I'm ready to be a shinobi, and then what's the point of knowing ninjutsu? All shinobi know ninjutsu, but not a lot know about Fuuinjutsu. I need to prove that they need me, then I can help protect the village. The boy stared sadly at his food. Kurama stayed silent. Brat. Your council's stupid. You may not be a master now, but you're still young. But I can help you show them that you're irreplaceable. Really? Naruto looked up from his food even though there was no one in front of him. He should really try to make more progress on creating a body for Kurama if he wanted to avoid feeling like a crazy person. Do not doubt me, Gaki. I've lived longer than all the miserable humans in your council combined. Because of your huge chakra reserves, I can teach you demon jutsus. Of course, they're more effective with my chakra, but they'll also be twice as destructive. Because of the amount of chakra needed, it'll practically assure that if anyone other than another Jinchuriki tried to copy the jutsu, they'll be so drained afterwards that they'll feel the chakra drain for days. Kurama chuckled. That'll show those spinning-eyed bastards. Naruto smiled brightly. Kurama-chan. That's great. You're like the best demon ever. Naruto exclaimed excitedly. Don't call me that. Kurama. To be able to do jutsus like a real shinobi. Iruka would be so happy. Be what? Pasta fell from Iruka's open mouth. Naruto grimaced. They were in Iruka's apartment where Naruto made pasta for his favorite sensei. It was something that Kurama, an unexpected but fantastic cook, suggested. Maybe they could add in more poblano peppers next time. What? You always wanted me to learn ninjutsu. Naruto's forehead crinkled. I did, but not from it. Iruka shrieked, then he whispered, what if it tries to get out? I don't think that he'd do that. Iruka's eyes narrowed. Why? Naruto gulped. He probably shouldn't tell Iruka that he already promised the demon a body. Tell him that it's because of the seal, Kurama murmured sleepily. It's because of the seal. Iruka's eyes narrowed into fine slits before he pointed his fork in Naruto's face. Are you sure? What are you hiding from me? Naruto went cross-eyed staring at the fork. He blinked as he looked away from it and sighed. He just doesn't want a weak vessel, sensei. He told me that there are others like me and that they'll probably come after me at some point because some of the other demons are crazy. If I die, then he dies, so he's trying to keep me alive for as long as possible. Iruka sank back into his chair, a hand held to his forehead. Alright, but I think that we should tell Hokage-sama immediately, he finally said. Okay. By the time that Naruto was 11, he was proficient enough in Fuuinjutsu to create minor seals, several which were used by the Anbu Corps, and had a long-standing contract with the Oinin for personalized shrinking bounty scrolls, which gave him a steady income, unlike his commissioned work with the Anbu. The Nin quickly overcame their hatred of the boy when faced with the usefulness of his creations. He was still a long way from being a master, even with his growing list of achievements. The Hokage remarked that it was amazing what he accomplished already and that he would contact his student Jiraiya to help Naruto with some of the theory that he was having trouble with. It was a shame that Kurama didn't know much about Fuuinjutsu because the fox was really good at explanations. But Naruto supposed if he understood seals, he could probably find a way to meddle with the Shiki Fuuinya. He was, however, scarily proficient with his wind affinity. He knew many demonic jutsus, but he never felt the need to use them. All he needed was to weave some of his chakra into the air, let it circulate for a little, and then he could just will the wind to do his bidding. He practiced his control until it was so precise that he started to cut dead blooms on his rose bushes with wind instead of finding a pair of scissors. It also helped with creating a solid body for Kurama. With his affinity attuned as it was easy for him to make a wind clone. The only issue was that Kurama refused to let him use any more than half a tail of demon chakra until he managed to strengthen the compound's wards so that the Anbu couldn't detect them. That day wasn't far away. Naruto already made adjustments to the seals he found in the scrolls, and he'd already found and modified the seals already in place. Stop being nervous. Nervousness makes your lines sloppy. Naruto took a calming breath before finishing the seals on his hands, which trailed up his arms. Today was the day he was going to give the Kyuubi a body. They'd modified the original seal slightly, made the body stronger at the cost of tying it to the compound. Last week, Naruto placed seals on each wall that would amplify the natural energy in the compound so that the body could fully sustain itself. They rehearsed this 100 times. Went over the hand seals, practiced each ink seal, practiced wind manipulation, practiced. And now, it was opening night. Naruto stood in the front yard where the atmosphere was already saturated with his chakra. Plants swayed towards him, their leaves brushing against his skin comfortingly. The circular seal that Naruto drew on the ground was already imbued with his chakra and was pulling in wind like a cyclone. Draw out my chakra slowly, kid. Naruto focused on wild chakra that thrashed around in his coils, condensing it as he pulled it towards hands. He'd increased his capacity to 2 tails, which would hopefully be enough. The seals glowed red as wisps of demonic chakra swirled through the ink, encompassing his hands. He concentrated on looping the majority of it around his fingers. He flashed through the hand seals just as he felt his coils burn. He's no Bushin. He felt all of the demonic chakra being pulled to his hands, then felt it disappear. The more he pumped into his hands, the faster he felt it disappear. It felt as if he was pumping chakra into a black hole. Do I even have hands anymore? He wondered to himself, and the seals pulled and pulled at the demonic chakra, and when there was no more, it started pulling on his. Shit, he thought as it kept pulling. He tried to break his hands free from the ram seal, but the pressure of chakra kept his hand still. He'd closed his eyes earlier because of the bright flash that the circular seal gave off, but he opened them now. In front of him was a dark red tornado that was barely being constrained to the seal. He looked up to see a hazy image of the fox's predatory face. "Oh Kami." I destroyed Konoha. Horrified, he passed out. Naruto opened his eyes to see a shock of red hair. He felt like crap, especially when he struggled to sit up, but at least his home was still standing, and he wasn't being restrained by Anbu, so either Kurama didn't destroy Konoha or everyone else was dead. Kit. You may never feel this again because you will never do something this stupid again. Chakra exhaustion. With reserves like ours, it should be an impossibility. A red-haired male threw his arms up in the air and scowled at the sky before turning back to Naruto, who raised an eyebrow. Was Kurama always this dramatic? Chakra exhaustion. You could have stopped. Should have stopped it. We didn't wait this many years only to have you die. Once you felt it pulling on your chakra, you should have stopped the flow immediately. It's not like we couldn't try once again once you learned to control more of my tails. I've been trapped in that stupid seal for 12 years, a few more weren't going to hurt. The man continued his rant. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Omen, Ramen I figured that if we kept pushing it back, I'll never happen. And you can teach me to jutsu properly, now. I've always been bad at it. Naruto pushed his bottom lip outwards and made his eyes as big and watery as possible. Kurama twitched. The boy looked like a newborn baby kid. Fine, he huffed. But you're on bed rest for the rest of the week. The redhead pierced Naruto with a glare before heading towards the door. The man somehow managed to find a white and red kanashi to fit him, although he wasn't wearing the hat, which just wasn't fair because all Naruto ever found in the compound were pots and pans. But, the fox paused dramatically at the doorway, the week after will be hell week for you. Naruto groaned and covered his head with his sheets. True to his promise, Taijutsu training was like a cruel constant mugging. They had matches where Kurama would thoroughly trash Naruto until the boy felt like he was black and blue, but he benefited greatly from the brutal hands-on learning. He was never going to be a calculating fighter, especially not with an opponent as fast as Kurama. He had to rely on his instincts to fend off the fox, and with each passing day, his body felt lighter as he dodged. His footwork was shoddy, but after slipping, twisting his ankle, and some advice, it was improving. He worried about not learning standard Taijutsu, but Kurama assured him that this was better. A set style made moves predictable, certain stances were awkward to defend or attack with. By training Naruto's instinctive side, he'd be able to defend or attack no matter his position. Incorporating styles could always come later. In the name of making Naruto's instinct sharper, the demon ambushed the boy at all hours. He flew from the ceilings, from shadowed corners, from ponds, everywhere. The only thing Naruto was grateful for was that the fox could only channel natural chakra, and that was only for his body to sustain itself, not for him to use. Team 7, Hayasaki Akio, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke, your sensei is Hada Kakashi. When Iruka left the academy, he sighed with relief. He had a couple weeks of vacation to look forward to before a remedial class for the genin that failed their sensei's test started. 2 weeks of sleeping in and not having to grade papers. Maybe he'd visit Naruto. He would have graduated with this class, Iruka thought sadly. Was Naruto aware that this could have been his graduation day? Probably not, but I should bring some Ichiraku ramen over just in case, he chuckled. This is foxfire. It cannot be doused by water, but it doesn't have to burn either. It doesn't even have to be hot. Most of its properties are generally up to the caster. Kurama demonstrated with a red flame nestled in his palm. With a bored expression, he lowered his hand until the flame slid from his palm and floated on the ground. In some places, they're called will-o'-the-wisps. And the flame split into smaller ones, each bobbing up and down in a line. Naruto watched, entranced, as they lit up the walkway. Now, write the demon seal for protection on the palm that you're going to use to summon the fire, so that you won't accidentally burn off your hand on your first try. Naruto did as he was told. Foxfire isn't created like a jutsu, it's more like making your chakra so dense that you can see it. Naruto focused, much like when he created Kurama's body. The spark flew into the air, but soon fizzled out. Naruto scrunched up his nose in dismay. He forced more chakra into his palm. An ember glowed atop the protection seal. Excited, he pushed more. B Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z D Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z. Dang it. He yelped as the doorbell rang. Foxfire spewed from his palm and landed on the ground. Kurama raised his head and faced door. It's your sensei, he shrugged before turning back towards Naruto and simultaneously stomping out the foxfire before it burned any flowers. Iruka. Yay. The blonde rushed past Kurama before turning back sharply. Shoot. He doesn't know about you. What do we do? The boy panicked. Tell him the truth. It's not like you could ever keep a secret from him anyways, the man shrugged. It was true, Naruto was a horrible liar, especially to his precious people. Right. Hey, sensei. This is the Kyuubi. I made him a body. No, he's not going to destroy Konoha. Why? Oh, he just promised me that he wouldn't. That's going to go well, was the sarcastic reply. Foxes do not break their promises. Kurama shrugged his shoulders again. Hey. Maybe you could hide in your room? He might not stay long. He could just be here to ask me out to ramen. Naruto chirped excitedly. If you think that I'm going to hide like some star-crossed lover. Naruto. Are you home? Iruka's worried voice carried over the wall. Humming, sensei. Naruto called back. He gave Kurama a dirty look. Fine. But let him down gently. Don't illusion fox ears and 9 tails like you did last week. I thought that I was going to die of a heart attack, Naruto spat. Naruto stomped over to his door, trying to fuel his anger so that nervousness wouldn't take over. How would sensei respond to Kurama's presence? He opened the front door with forced cheer. Iruka frowned a little as he held up the bags of ramen. Was I interrupting something? Naruto felt a twinge of guilt at the man's apologetic look. Kami. He was going to hell. With Kurama. No. I was just practicing a jutsu, he mumbled as he ushered Iruka in. Oh. That's great. What jutsu was it? Do you need help? Ah, thanks sensei. Come on. Let's eat in the courtyard today, the champagne roses are in full bloom. When they arrived at the courtyard, Kurama was nowhere to be seen. Naruto gave an internal sigh of relief. He led them to a grassy patch in front of the roses, where the scent of the blooms wafted gently. They set up their food as if they were on a picnic. Itadakimasu? Naruto exclaimed as he dug in. Iruka shook his head with a smile before eating his own bowl. Between slurps of his ramen, Naruto managed to ask, so, sensei, what's up? You're usually not out this early on a weekday. Oh, well, today was the genin graduation day, so I'm on vacation for 2 weeks, Iruka said hesitantly. Naruto put his chopsticks down and smiled. Don't worry about it, sensei. I got over that a long time ago. And besides, I wouldn't be able to focus much on Fuuinjutsu if I was in a genin team. Fuuinjutsu isn't much of a team sport, Naruto laughed. But you've been working on ninjutsu. And I saw what you did with your wind affinity and the leaves last week. Even if I don't approve of using chakra to rake leaves. Naruto ignored Iruka's pointed stare. Oh. And you said you were working on a jutsu before I knocked. What was it? The Chuunin asked curiously. Foxfire. Iruka swung around with a kunai in his hand as Naruto choked on his noodles. Kurama raised an eyebrow at the two of them, hands demurely slotted in his sleeves. If Naruto didn't know better, he would have thought that the man really was a priest. "Who are you?" Iruka growled as he hid Naruto behind him. "He's cough cough." "The mentor," Kurama finished for him. "My name is Kaneshiro Kurama. It's a pleasure to meet you." The fox bowed, a pleasant smile plastered on his face. "Oh. I'm Yumi no Iruka. It's nice to meet you Kaneshiro-san." Iruka blushed in embarrassment. Behind him, Naruto cursed. "Stupid fox. Pardon me, but Naruto's never spoken about you. How long have you been teaching him?" Iruka curiously asked. Naruto cursed again. "Not very long, Yumino-san. We met." "He's the Kyuubi." Naruto interrupted. Kurama's eye twitched at the outburst. Really? He'll probably have to start etiquette lessons with Naruto if this was how he dealt with sensitive issues. "Naruto? You're not," Iruka started to say, but then glanced at Kurama. He's not in his right mind, haha. He must be coming down with a fever. I'll go." The man was at a loss. Kurama sighed. He did that a lot. Sometimes he wished that he was asleep and back in the seal. Naruto is perfectly coherent. He lacks a single subtle bone in his body, but he's perfectly fine. At this, the redhead rolled his eyes. "I am indeed the Kyuubi, although my real name is Kurama." Iruka froze. He gave a calculating stare towards Kurama, evaluating his golden eyes and red hair, as if he could spot a pair of foxy ears or sense a hint of demonic chakra. And then a pair of red furry fox ears popped amidst the red hair. Several things happened simultaneously. Kurama smirked. Naruto groaned. Iruka threw every jutsu he knew at the demon. The plant sprung to life, wrapping and pulling at Iruka, trapping him within seconds. Naruto thanked Kami that the roses hadn't so much as twitched, which was a miracle because they'd liked Kurama better and would be sliced into Iruka without mercy. "Well, Naruto. If you'd let me do this my way, Iruka-sensei wouldn't be in this predicament." The fox had the guts to chuckle merrily. Iruka cursed like a sailor behind a vine. "I can't just lie to sensei. And you. What did I tell you about that illusion?" Naruto fumed. He frantically started petting at the roots and vines, coaxing them to let the brunette go. They loosened but didn't fully release the man. "Please. You're the one who told me to let him down gently. And then you had the gall to blurt out the truth." Kurama knelt towards a root and hummed it a lullaby. It unwound itself, briefly caressed the fox's cheek and then dug itself back into the ground. Kurama smiled before covering the hole. Naruto turned stubbornly away. Sensei. Let me explain." "MMMFFFGHHGHGH." He screamed through the vine. "Ah." An echo, Kurama warned. The vine shrank away, sadly trailing on the ground before returning to its place wrapped around a pillar. "You named it?" Naruto asked incredulously. "It's boring when you're out." Kurama attempted to shrug, but it was more of an ashamed shuffle. Naruto chuckled. Iruka was not amused. "So, you're trying to tell me that you made the Kyuubi, the nine-tailed beast, a body because you were sorry for him. Are you sure he hasn't been influencing you? This is why we didn't want you to speak with it." Iruka tried valiantly to restrain his temper and anxiety. "I needed his chakra, Itachi Nai said so. And this way, I have free reign over it and he teaches me how to use it without poisoning myself." Iruka froze. "Itachi told you what? When?" Naruto stared straight into Iruka's eyes and said, "He told me the night of the Uchiha massacre. He came to my window before he left." "Did he?" "No. He didn't hurt me or anything. He just told me he was leaving Konoha and to learn to use the Kyuubi's chakra." "Well, he was always fond of you. But are you sure that the Kyuubi, Kurama, isn't influencing you?" Iruka gave a sharp look towards Kurama, who they ignored until now. The man casually sipped his tea. "Yes. The only way for me to return to Naruto's body and control my chakra is if I dispel this clone. Which I'm not willing to do yet. And I see no reason why I shouldn't teach Naruto how to use demonic powers. He's hardly the only Jinchuriki." Another infuriating calm sip of tea. "And you can't leave this compound?" Iruka pressed. "Well, we haven't tried, have we?" Kurama smirked nastily, "But we're almost positive that if I were to go outside the compound, this body would weaken. It wouldn't die because it consumes natural chakra, which is everywhere, but if I didn't consume enough of it in time, it would simply dissolve. Wind chakra is never very stable." "See, sensei. It's all under control." Naruto exclaimed, large puppy dog eyes prepped and firing. Iruka didn't look convinced, at least, not until he made Naruto explain the seals in detail. I think it would be best to explain the seals to the Hokage at the same thing," Kurama suggested genteelly. Iruka looked as if he wanted to protest on principle, but stopped when he realized that it was a good idea. "That's right, Naruto. We have to tell the Hokage." Haruka stood and dragged the boy towards the front door. The plants and Kurama waved goodbye. Some days, Naruto wished that he didn't want to be Hokage. This was one of them. The old man took it as well as a cat to cold baths. Naruto might have burst an eardrum when the Hokage screamed himself hoarse in anger. He swore that he heard Kurama laugh inside his head. The Hokage marched over to the Namikaze compound, summoning contract ready just in case the fox became violent. They didn't find him in the front rooms or the courtyard. When Iruka and Sarutobi started to panic, Naruto pointed out that Kurama had access to the inner rooms. They found him. In the bathtub. Completely at ease with them being in the bathroom with him. "Hello. Oh, you look older than I remember, Professor," Kurama smiled. Enma and staff form pierced through bathtub, tile, and concrete. It, unfortunately, did not pierce any foxy bits. "I swear that it's not poisoned. Rama-chan would never poison food that he made himself," Naruto said matter-of-factly. His two guests gave cautious pokes at the spaghetti squash on their plates. Dinner was a tense affair. Naruto tried in vain to strike up light conversation. He started off with, "Oh. Kurama's an awesome cook. This one time he made and the sugar camellias aren't doing so well because of the humidity," but the responses were always curt. While he was debating on the next topic, Kurama managed to slide in his own topic. "So, it looks like you rebuilt Sector C after one of my tails knocked it down," Kurama stated offhandedly. "Oh Kami. Why doesn't he shut up? Rama shut up, please," Naruto pleaded to every deity he could think of. Sarutobi gritted his teeth. "It's been rebuilt better. But it's a relief to see that you've shrunk a lot." The Hokage stabbed at his squash viciously. "Yes, well, I wouldn't trade it for anything," the fox replied simply. Iruka looked up from his plate. "What do you mean by that?" he asked. Kurama faced him. "I usually cannot come to this world without being summoned. It's different not having a master to follow orders from." "Then why did you attack Konoha?" Iruka demanded. "You should probably ask Uchiha Madara why he summoned me, then," was the breezy reply. The other two men sat frozen in shock. "What are you talking about? Madara is dead," Iruka hissed. The Hokage held his tongue, but it was clear that he had things he wanted to ask as well. "You don't have to believe me. But rest assured that when I meet that man again, because I will meet him again, I'll make sure that not even the dust of his bones is left." If Kurama had his fox ears, they would have been flat against his head. "Are you sure that?" the Hokage began. "No, I just tend to ignore people who try to enslave me," Kurama snapped sarcastically. Naruto watched the argument with wide eyes. Who's Madara?" the blonde asked. Kurama, who was about to retaliate against something that the Hokage had said, snapped his mouth shut. "We will discuss this later," he growled to Sarutobi, who gave a curt nod in response. Naruto knew better than to whine about being in the dark. It was like the Kyuubi conspiracy all over again, except that this time the Kyuubi really was involved. He'd just call this one the Kurama conspiracy. So Kurama's current body can't leave the compound, so. Current body? Maybe Naruto would take Kurama up on his offer of teaching the boy how to speak in public without stabbing himself in the foot. It's more out of laziness than an ability. I see no reason for me to leave the compound in the foreseeable future unless your villagers do something to Naruto," Kurama threatened. "Though you can be assured that if I do leave the compound, I will probably venture to other villages. If I wreak havoc, it'll be there, not here." Iruka and the Hokage didn't look very reassured, but both nodded their heads anyways. "Practice Fuuinjutsu and your jutsus. I'll be in the frontal rooms with the Hokage if you need me." Kurama ruffled Naruto's blonde hair as he spoke. A week passed since the disaster dinner and the Kurama conspiracy. Naruto and Kurama spent the week after theorizing on how weak Kurama's body would be out of the compound and if there was any way to strengthen it. Would they have to paint seals on the body, or would they have to alter the original seals and remake the whole body again? If only the matter was as simple as Kurama wandering around outside for a while and noting the changes to the body. Sure, it'll be fine if the body only lost some power, but there was also the chance that some of the winds would escape, leaving a weakened, smaller, possibly translucent Kurama. Worst case scenario. The seals on the body's arms dissolve and all of the contained winds are let go. Considering how the sealing nearly drained both Naruto's and what Naruto could access of the Kurama's chakra, there were many, possibly vicious, winds. If released, tornadoes could rip apart their section of Konoha. Naruto glanced down at the modified lightning seal in front of him. Originally, it was meant to zap its surroundings if requirements weren't met. Usually, it would be blood because the seal was used most often to protect personal property. Naruto's version, however, was modified to respond to chakra. This made it highly unstable, but according to Uzumaki Mido's scrolls, he could integrate elemental seals with a special stability seal. He also added a self-sustaining seal that would draw chakra from nature instead of from the sealer. It wasn't like his garden was lacking in any. Naruto snapped his fingers. Tiny tornadoes danced atop his seal, depositing chakra onto his lines. After chakra training with Kurama, Naruto had no need for actual jutsus when it came to wind, he only needed to think, and wind responded. Consequently, it made learning other jutsus extremely hard since he wasn't used to rigidity and chakra. When the tornadoes were completed absorbed into the seal, Naruto glanced at it again to check for mistakes. Then he sank the scroll into the pond in front of him, which glowed briefly. He smiled. If any chakra other than his, the Hokage's or Iruka's touched any of the courtyard water, tornadoes would spring up and incapacitate the intruder. The genius thing was that the tornadoes wouldn't harm anything with the courtyard's natural chakra, since that was its chakra source, and recognized it as brethren. The compound would be the safest haven Naruto could make it. Well, Naruto thought smugly to himself, this is the first time that I wish that someone would attack me. Satisfied with his accomplishment, Naruto began practicing Kurama's demonic jutsus. Meijin. Hakai, destruction, he muttered. His chakra spread out from his body like sound waves, and once they came into contact with a solid object, chakra wrapped around it. His fingers tingled as the illusion touched the walls of the compound. He opened his eyes. Around him, decayed trees and plants gave birth to maggots and worms. The soil was so dry that it cracked and crumbled with every step that he took. Gone were the bright colors of his flowers. In their place were drab tones of dark brown and black. This was the most recent jutsu that Kurama taught him. Naruto had been afraid that he wouldn't have been able to do it because it was a genjutsu and he didn't have a fine-tuned enough chakra control for that, but Kurama laid his fears. Demonic illusions were chakra-sucking death traps. This one was his favorite because it convinced the enemy that there was nobody around for miles and that this was already a wasteland. If anyone touched a parasite or maggot, the thing would wiggle just as if it were real, because a part of the illusion was fueled by the enemy's own imagination. The only downside was that if Naruto was too far away from the point where he cast it, the entire illusion would dissolve, since it needed a constant supply of chakra. Kurama shrugged at this limitation when Naruto brought it up. He said that in his prime, Aka when he was not stuck in Naruto's body, he could be half across a country and the illusion could still hold. Then Naruto replied that Kurama could cross that distance with 3 steps. Kurama scowled and told him to practice harder. As of now, Naruto didn't have any issues with the jutsu. He could keep it up for days without feeling so much as a dent in his chakra capacity, but he was still manipulating the smells. The area smelled like smoke, but little else. He experimented with making the air heavy with humidity, but that atmosphere didn't feel natural with the scenery. Sometimes the soil was damp, sometimes the tree bark didn't break off like it would in reality. Well, since I'm not allowed to pull pranks, I need to utilize my creativity somewhere else, Naruto thought sullenly. He drew a seal in the ashy earth and smiled when the area around him became a swamp. Maybe he could put a sea serpent in the swamp, that'd be interesting. Hokage-sama. I would like to request a C-ranked mission for Team 7. Sarutobi looked up at Kakashi, masking his disbelief. The Jounin's theory was that a C-ranked mission would motivate his team to work harder. Preposterous. If Kakashi's genin refused to do D ranks, then they could well quit, in Sarutobi's opinion. But the council was once again meddling in his affairs. Something needed to be done about that. You have a mission to Wave, escorting and protecting a bridge builder named Tazuna. Team 7 trudged to the gates of Konoha, carrying the corpse of their third member, Hayasaki Akio. The boy's honey-colored hair peeked from beneath a white cloth wrapped around his body, and Kamizuki Izumo could see trails of blood stained to his hair. He didn't doubt that if he pulled the covering lower, he would see a slashed throat and a thin stretched skin that prevented complete decapitation. He nudged his partner, Hagane Katetsu, awake. As the Chuunin in charge of manning the gates, they were required to inspect all incoming persons, but one look at Hada Kakashi's expression convinced them that they could make an exception. Losing your first genin was always the hardest, and Kakashi was no different. His gravity-defying hair was streaked with mud and blood, his hands were raw, the cut on his knee was barely scabbed over, and the bags underneath his eyes were as dark as an Uchiha's hair. This wasn't the first death that the copycat nin had seen, it wasn't even his youngest death, but losing a genin fresh from the academy felt different from losing a battle-weary comrade who had already come to terms with the dangers of the job. Izumo and Katetsu both nodded to their senpai, eyes averted from the corpse. Kakashi's uncovered eye flicked towards them before he grimly nodded back. He gently herded the rest of his genin towards the Hokage Tower so that they could report in their mission. The Uchiha scowled at his sensei's actions but didn't vocally protest. The pink-haired female nodded, her eyes flickering back to the corpse in her sensei's arms before walking ahead of him. At the academy, being a ninja seemed like a game, where studying tactics and learning the rules were easy ways to level up, she'd known, but not realized that death was an option until she saw arterial blood spurting from Akio's body, his body hanging in the mist, moments after Zabuza's sword finished its swing, before it collapsed, dragged down by indifferent gravity. She hadn't realized that ninja missions weren't like the survival retreats at the academy, where she could trust the other students to play by the rules, and where she trusted her instructors to keep her safe. In the real world, you couldn't guarantee anything. She didn't regret learning this lesson, she only regretted that her teammate died for it. She felt the curious glances of the civilians as they made their way to the tower. She wished that they could run atop the roofs to avoid the stairs, but they had traveled nearly non-stop since they left Wave. Her body and her mind felt exhausted. Her feet dragged even as she pulled them up. Occasionally she snuck looks at Sasuke, but her crush seemed untouched by the events in Wave. He didn't see Akio die, not like she did. When Sasuke reminisced about this mission, he would remember awakening his coveted Sharingan, she would remember the swing of a blade, a spray of blood, and the cold seeping into her skin from Akio's rigid body. She'd remember this mission as the first time she considered quitting being a Kunoichi. She'd remember Akio's body in her memories, his clothes fluttering as he ran in front of her. She'd been protecting Tazuna then, poised and nervous. She'd been watching Sasuke's fight so intently, fearing for her crush's life so emphatically, that she hadn't realized that Zabuza had moved away from Kakashi until he was in front of her. Akio noticed. He flung his skinny body against that giant's sword and he died for her inattention. She was a moment too slow, a lot too weak, and Akio, the boy who crushed on her since their academy days, was killed in front of her. He didn't even have last words to say. A sliced windpipe prevented a lot of things. Kakashi-sensei retaliated, his anger fueling his adrenaline. Zabuza was dead within minutes, but by the time Kakashi enacted his revenge he was suffering from chakra exhaustion, and Geto was already waiting for them with fresh muscle. The only thing to be thankful for was that Haku stopped his fight with Sasuke, stunned by the death of his mentor, and, less so, by Geto's treachery. When Geto's men charged, Sakura was thankful for Haku's anger because the boy destroyed those thugs, and the ones that he didn't, Kakashi decapitated, and the ones that survived that, the makeshift civilian army rounded up. But there she was, guarding Tazuna with trembling legs, while the corpse of her dead teammate lay in front of her. She couldn't bear to look at it. After it was all over and Kakashi wrapped up the body, her sensei placed a hand on her shoulder and told her that it wasn't her fault that Akio died. Like it wasn't her fault that she was weak and unprepared. He told her that as their sensei, the blame lay with him, as if Tazuna's lie didn't factor in. As if Kakashi was expected to be able to fight Nukenin and watch over his students at the same time. Okijama will see you now. The voice jolted her awake. The receptionist nodded them in, but Sakura couldn't see more than her 2 feet. She felt Kakashi nudge her back and she moved forward, but it was mechanical. She couldn't feel the air in her lungs or the ground underneath. She could feel her skin paling as the blood drained from it. If they weren't already walking into the Hokage's office, she would have begged her sensei to let her go. Her stomach lurched. Team 7, Hokage-sama said. She raised her head, but she purposely kept her eyes unfocused so that she couldn't see his expression. Hokage-sama. Team 7, reporting in, Kakashi replied. He placed the corpse by his feet, his summoned dogs alerted the Hokage earlier about Akio's state, and a shinobi from the crematorium stood by the wall. Report. Kakashi, Sarutobi sighed when the genin were dismissed. He let silence hang in between them for several minutes, puffing smoke into the room as he debated his options. Hayasaki-kun was an orphan, so there were no parents to inform of his death, and as such, he would be immediately cremated after a small viewing. His death, however, was still a great loss to the village and would not be ignored as easily as out of sight, out of mind. As I understand it, there wasn't much your team could do under the circumstances. What I'm afraid of, however, is that the apprentice, Haku was it, will seek revenge against you, he said. Kakashi's back was as straight as his face was blank. I do not think that he would be foolish enough to come after me after his mentor failed to kill me. He fled as soon as Geto was disposed of and he took his mentor's body with him. If he was intent on revenge, he could have attempted to kill me while I was weak from chakra exhaustion, Kakashi stated. Sarutobi could see the logic in that. He only feared that a boy who lost his mentor wouldn't be thinking rationally. I see. Team 7 will be on leave for the next week while the council and I will attempt to find another genin to take Hayasaki-kun's place. Until then, Team 7 is barred from missions. Dismissed. The week off would give the team time to reflect on the wave mission. Yes, sir. The jounin left in a swirl of leaves. Sarutobi sighed again, there would be another name on the memorial stone tomorrow morning. Although he had said that he would attempt to find another genin, Sarutobi knew that there weren't any of the right caliber available in the academy. As soon as Uchiha Sasuke graduated from the academy, the council had decided that Team 7 would take Konoha's upcoming Chuunin exams. They wanted to give the last Uchiha a home field advantage and didn't want to risk his capture or death if he went to another village's exam. Being so soon after graduation meant that the only students that were in the academy were either remedial genin who didn't pass their sensei's test or students who were months away from graduating, both were completely inexperienced. Additionally, none of the remedial genin had profiles that would work with Team 7 and none of the current students stood out as extremely capable. The Chuunin exams were months away, but good teamwork took longer than that to cultivate, and if Kakashi focused wholly on the team for the next few months just so that they could pass those portions of the exams, then the genin would be lacking in individual skills. Or Kakashi would only focus on Sasuke's newly awakened Sharingan, something that only he could do. No, whomever Sarutobi chose to be the third member of Team 7 would have to be Chuunin level without the rank and able to train Sakura, while Kakashi focused on Sasuke's Sharingan. Currently, there was only one possible person whom he could think of, but the council would never agree. And if they did reluctantly agree, Naruto-kun wouldn't. At least, not without some conditions. Sarutobi smiled at that thought. Chapter 2. Downin senseis tried not to cancel meetings very often because genin teams needed all the training they could get, so when Kurenai sensei told them that they had the next few days off, Team 8 gazed at her with metaphorical stars in their eyes. "Where are you going, sensei? To save a country? To cripple our enemies?" Kiba wheedled. Sensei leveled him with small smile and flickered out. Kiba let out a heart-struck sigh before perking back up. "Woot. I can't wait till Kurenai sensei comes back. Akamaru and I would be back twice as strong." He cheered. Shino rolled his eyes, but Hinata smiled. "Ah no, Kiba-kun. I wish you guys luck," she said hesitantly. "Thanks, Hinata-chan. I'll see you guys in 2 days." Kiba waved as he and Akamaru left the grounds. The remaining 2 members nodded to each other before leaving as well. Unlike Kiba, Shino wasn't training for new jutsu. Instead, he wanted to focus on strengthening and expanding his colony, which was currently too small to do any long-range recon or fighting. The earlier he started, the more prepared he'd be for the Chuunin exams. His father, Aburam Shibe, told him that an endeavor like that took years since an overload of chakra poisoned the Kakachu. His father told him to just train and the colony would grow with him, as it did for every Aburam. But Shino realized that his Kakachu could be fed more, they had so much more room to grow. "Maybe I need to expand my chakra reserves first," he thought to himself. He wasn't close to poisoning them with his current reserves, but he also wasn't close to feeding them their maximum allowance. BZZT. Shino left the training grounds and entered the village. He felt one of his younger Kakachu flit around him, traveling slightly further than the rest of the colony. Curious, Shino stopped walking, but the Kakachu stayed with him, although it maintained its distance. He began walking again. BZZT. It flew in a slow loop. Shino took a step onto the dirt road into the center of the village. The Kakachu nestled closer to him. By the time he bought some fruit for a snack at a nearby vendor, it was mingling with the colony. Curious, he mumbled behind his collar. Backtracking, he headed towards the training areas again, and with each step, the young Kakachu pulled away. He experimented, taking several steps in one direction and then several in another. He followed the bug's steadily more drunken movement. He followed it for several minutes, weaving through civilians going through their daily business. They avoided him, his colony began to travel in front of him instead of with him. They were a porous cloud that surrounded him, swaying as they led him towards an unknown destination. He no longer led them. Sometimes Shino flared his chakra so that they would come back and narrowly avoiding a bustling civilian with a cart who didn't notice the wide berth everyone else gave the young ninja, but the colony still drifted away. He wondered if they would continue moving forwards even if he stood still in the middle of the street. 20 minutes after he began following the stray Kakachu, he began to feel irritated. He was wasting precious time. As time went on, he found himself running to keep up with his colony, which kept speeding up as they got closer to wherever. They were in front of a small clan house. Very ordinary. The name Namikaze was emblazoned on the top of the arch, but Shino never heard of it, perhaps it was a civilian clan. He heard crashes and yells from inside. "Shit. I'm sorry, okay? I was just trying to help." "How was that helping? You took down the seals." "Just some of them. I was trying to improve them." "Fix them?" roared the deeper voice. "I would have fixed them if you didn't lecture me for so long. Of all the crash stupid kid crash, I should let Kami-sama beat you." "Okay." A blond boy yelled backwards as he stumbled out of the door. Dressed in a black t-shirt and orange pants, with a brush clutched in one hand, Shino figured he stumbled across an eccentric painter. The boy looked up. "Shit," he said as he stared at Shino. Shino gave him an impassive stare behind his sunglasses. Hey. Did you need something?" The boy asked. My colony led me here. I do not know why. I was wondering if you could shed some light on the matter, Shino responded. Colony? Yes. My name is Aburam Shino, and… Naruto. A red-haired man dressed like a Shinto priest burst through the door. He stared at Shino for a second before glaring at the blonde boy. Then he swatted the back of the blonde's head with a closed fan. Ow. Kurama. What the hell was that for? The younger whined. Language? What would your precious sensei think if he heard you? The man smirked. He came down the steps and stood next to the boy. Ah, the Aburam heir. My name is Kaneshiro Kurama. It's a pleasure to meet you. May I inquire about your business here? The man stepped in front of the boy, shielding him from Shino's view. My Kakechu led me here. I do not know why. What are Kakechu? He said he had a colony. No, the boy tugged on Kaneshiro Shisho's sleeve. The man's eyebrow ticked. Kit. Didn't I instruct you to learn about the major clans in Konoha and their heirs? Oh that? Well, I was a little busy with creating the new security seals, you see, the boy smiled up at the redhead unrepentantly. In simple terms, he has a colony of special bugs that he uses. The blonde peered from around the man and stared at Shino in interest. Cool. Hi. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. The man swatted the boy's head again. Ow. Kurama. The man gave the boy a glare before turning a back towards Shino. I apologize, Aburam-kun. We were doing repairs on the compound security seals. You weren't doing anything, the boy muttered. And it seems that your Kakechu caught wind of our chakra. They probably came to investigate it since they are not used to it, our seals usually prevent any of it from leaking. I assure you that it will not be a problem again. Kaneshiro Shisho gave a polite bow at the end. The Kakechu pressed themselves closer to the wall. It was kind of shameful to watch. Come back, he ordered, but they stayed where they were. So full they murmured back to him. Alarmed, he flared his chakra again. They snapped back to him, not because of his command, but because a thick root shot over the fence and headed towards him. Yuka. The two males in the compound dashed forward. A moving vine. Shino dodged, but the vine curled in midair and went after him again. Is this Mokuton? The red-haired man disappeared behind the wall, probably to where the vine originated from, but the blonde was running towards him. Possible scenarios flashed through his mind. If this was Mokuton, he could drain the chakra in the vine to stop it from moving. No, there was too much chakra in it. If he didn't know better, it seemed to be made from chakra. But this didn't seem like a planned attack, so what? Chakra containment seal. The boy channeled chakra into the brush in his hand, jumped on top of the vine, and painted what must have been a seal. The vine slumped onto the wall. The boy sighed and turned to Shino. Sorry about that. She doesn't like other people's chakra very much. Would you like to come in for tea? He asked. Shino stared at him. That's what I'm supposed to do in these situations, right? Apologize and invite you for tea? He shifted from foot to foot nervously. I do not believe there has been a precedent to this, but I accept your offer. Answers would be nice. Boy. Kurama. I sealed her chakra. And invited Shino-kun to tea. The boy turned towards Shino, let's go. Should we not clean this up, Uzumaki-kun? Shino inclined his head towards the root. Oh. Just call me Naruto. And give me a minute, he responded before slipping his hands underneath the plant. Shino wanted to tell the boy, Naruto, that he could call him Shino then, except that the boy already did. He couldn't help but just feel exasperated, though. It seemed like this was just the boy's nature, he was rather similar to Kiba. Naruto heaved the vine back over the wall. The one he sang before dragging Shino into the house. The Kakechu stayed on Shino's arms and poked Naruto's hand every other second. The boy giggled that he was ticklish. Past the outer walls, Shino could see the jungle within. Thick large plants of every size and color sprang up, almost surreal in their size. Plots of vegetables were to his right, filled with blooming food. He could see the vine that attacked him. Kaneshiro Shisho knelt by its base, speaking to it softly as he slowly rubbed away the seal. The vine stirred drowsily, and then it wrapped itself around the man. Thank you, Yuuka, for protecting Naruto and I. The man smiled before motioning for the vine to let go. It returned to its place by the way, a silent sentinel. The man brushed off the dirt from his robes and headed towards them. How long do you think it'll take for you to fix the seals? He asked. An hour. It shouldn't take more than 15 minutes to replace the seals, especially since I know what my mistake was on the western wall, but I invited Shino here to tea. The man pinched the bridge of his nose and gave an exasperated sigh. The seals need to be fixed as soon as possible. They were only down for half an hour and they managed to attract shinobi. Don't worry. We can have tea afterwards. Okay, you're the one with etiquette skills. The boy shrugged, headed towards the well by the vegetables. The fact that he can say such a thing so flippantly, the man gave a fond sigh. Then he smiled politely at Shino before saying, "Come, Aburam-kun. Let's sit on the grass by Yuuka. She will not hurt you. I need to supervise Naruto in case something unexpected happens again. I'll answer your questions there." He led them towards the vine. "The natural chakra here is very strong, Kaneshiro Shisho. Is one of you a Mokuton user?" Shino asked once they settled down. Kaneshiro gave a foxy bark. A curious laugh. "No. Naruto feeds the plants his chakra just as you feed your Kakechu. Their responses are similar, are they not? And you may call me Kurama. I am no longer a priest. Someone like me?" Shino thought. Naruto wasn't a Mokuton user, he didn't animate or control plants. He fed and took care of them like Shino did with his bugs, they were kindred. They sat in silence. Kurama watched Naruto erase the old seals and created new ones. Merely updating them wouldn't give the compound the same amount of protection. Shino observed his bugs, which kept spreading away from him. He wanted to call them back again, but he was afraid of what the vine would do since it was so close to it. His Kakechu landed on leaves and trunks, munching on the chakra that rippled on the surface. He was slightly worried about this. He let them eat natural chakra sometimes, like earlier when they devoured his apple core, but they never ate it in such quantities. Would it affect their bond with him? Kurama noticed his gaze and responded. "I don't think you need to worry. Natural chakra doesn't interfere with human chakra, these plants transformed Naruto's chakra into their own. They won't be feeding off of any of his unless they nibble on the roots." "Thank you for your assurance, Kurama-san. May I ask how you are so knowledgeable to how the Aburam clan's Kakechu function?" The dark-haired boy pierced the man with a stare. The information wasn't necessarily a secret, but it wasn't commonly known, even shinobi had to dig a little to find the facts. "Logic, Shino-kun. Is there any other method that your clan could employ to gain the same control over their Kakechu?" There wasn't. At least, none that Shino had ever heard of. Naruto sat next to them after finishing 2 seals. "Did you figure out what was wrong with your bugs, Shino?" the blonde asked. Kurama rose and went to fetch them tea. "Yes, Naruto-kun. I believe that they were attracted to the amount of chakra here," Shino replied. "Yeah?" Naruto scratched his head, "Probably the chakra reflection seals." He sat down with a thump. Chakra reflection seals. He'd never heard of those before, but he wasn't very interested in Fuuinjutsu. "Yeah. They're my favorite creation." "Creation? This boy made them?" "They reflect the chakra between 2 of them, so that the chakra is multiplied. Some chakra is lost so that it can power the seals, but its output way exceeds its input. I have 2 pairs in here, so the chakra is reflected until the air is maximally saturated. My plants really like it, it seems that your bugs do too," Naruto explained excitedly. He bounced with pride. Shino hid his own tilt of the lips behind his collar. "It seems that they do. You also have many rare species of plants here, my Kakechu must enjoy the variation in nectar," he responded. "Oh. Do they eat like normal bugs?" "I figured that they would, but you never know with shinobi animals." "Hold on." Naruto crossed to the other side of the yard and stood in front of a peach tree. He plucked a few before returning. "These are really sweet. And they're full of chakra. Would your bugs like some?" Naruto asked. Shino blinked. "Do all of your plants have chakra in them?" he asked. "Oh, yeah. It keeps them healthy. And I recover from chakra exhaustion faster if I eat food saturated with their chakra." He shrugged. Shino's eyebrows raised. "My Kakechu would be honored, Naruto-kun." Shino motioned several that were close to him towards the fruit. These crept closer before finally taking a bite. "But masterful," they murmured to him as Naruto urged them to eat more. Shino never heard them speak this much or say that they were full. "Could Naruto's fruit be the solution to my problem?" "Naruto-kun. May I have one?" "Sure." A peach was thrust into his face. He took it gingerly and ate. It was sweet. Not sickeningly sweet, but on the cusp. It was crunchy and cool from where it was underneath the tree's leaves. It took several bites, nearly the whole peach, before he felt it, a subtle rush of his chakra replenishing itself. He didn't use much of it today because teammate didn't have practice, but whatever he used was refilling itself. The Kakechu who ate from the peach returned to him, full. He could feel a stronger bond, more power flowed through them. It seemed that eating the fruit had better results than just siphoning off the chakra on top of the plants. Too bad Naruto-kun and Kurama-san probably wouldn't appreciate half-eaten plants everywhere if he allowed his Kakechu to actually eat. "Interesting fruit we have here, yes?" Kurama returned with a tray of tea and peach buns. "Yes," he replied. "I was wondering if I could ask a favor." Kurama kneeled on the grass and sipped some tea. "Sure. It's the least we can do to make up for Yuuka accidentally attacking you." Naruto smiled as he reached for a peach bun. Shino saw Kurama's eyebrow twitch. Shino said nothing and turned towards Kurama. Being the adult, he would be the one to make the decision. If the favor is what I think it is, then I have no issue with giving it to you. Although I feel that we do not owe you anything, since you were the one who entered our territory, Kurama gave him stare as Naruto sputtered. I understand, Shino replied. But, depending on your reasons, I have two options for you. If I like your reasons for wanting our fruit, because I am sure that is what you want, then you have my permission to enter the front gardens. If not, I will send you home with a basket of peaches and a promise to not return. Thank you, Kurama-san. Shino bowed his head. You can't. Naruto, finish the rest of the security seals, Kurama ordered. The boy glared but rose and left to finish his earlier task. Be nice, he warned the redhead. Kurama gave him a fake smile. Shino began. I am a genin of Team 8. Our team may not enter the Chuunin Exams this year since we are rookies, but I felt that it would be best to be prepared. In light of this, I have been brainstorming ways to grow my colony. This endeavor takes most Aburam years since chakra reserves grow slowly, but with the help of your fruit, I hope to shorten that time. And what will you tell your family and teammates about your improvement? Such swift improvement brings swift accusations. I will tell them nothing that I do not have permission to tell. Just as you see this garden benefiting you, you see that if word were to get out, there would be shinobi knocking down our doors. The last thing we want is to disturb our peace and be forced to give out our hard work to those who believe themselves to be entitled to it, the redhead stated. Then I will tell them only that it is my new training, Shino replied. Kurama gave him a look, not a contemplative one, but a critical one. It seemed as if the man cared more for Shino's soul than his reasons. What do you think of Naruto? The man asked. My first impression is that he is very similar to my teammate Inuzuka Kiba. Kurama's lips quirked. Then you have my sympathy. At his words, Shino hid a smile behind his collar. So you bear no ill will against my charge? What a curious question, especially since Shino just met the boy. No, he replied honestly. Should he bear ill will against the blonde? Kurama hummed before nodding his head. Nothing is done for free. This is no favor. Rather, a trade. The Aburam clan has. I am making a deal with you, not your clan. My offer is this. For access into our garden, we ask that you help tend to it, especially since your Kakachu will be benefiting from it and that you spar with Naruto here. He does not have many acquaintances his age and no team of his own since he is not a genin, but he has been trained. You would both benefit from sparring one another. You ask very little, Kurama-san. The deal sounded much too sweet. Your silence is the greatest gift we could ask for, and our continued acquaintances assures this, but you are also a Konohinin. What do we have to gain from sabotaging the growth of our comrades? Very well, I accept your generous offer, Shino replied. Kurama smiled and pushed the plate with the peach buns closer to the boy. Good. We will integrate your chakra into the outer seals when Naruto returns. The man resumed sipping his tea. Shino ate the peach bun in silence, it was delicious. But still felt suspicious of the duo. Neither of you have the last name Namikaze Kurama-san, he said when he was finished. Kurama gave him a toothy grin. No, we don't. But do not worry, Shino-kun, we have the Hokage's permission to be here. Shino returned home with a basket full of peaches and oranges. His Kakachu sat on him lazily, utterly sated. It was late afternoon, he had time to train until their extra chakra was depleted. He still thought that the duo was strange. Naruto didn't seem very suspicious, but the elder, Kurama, he was crafty, sly like a fox. That man had alternative motives. He would ask his father if he knew anyone by the name Uzumaki Naruto, Kaneshiro Kurama, or Namikaze when the man returned. What did you do that for, Rama-chan? Naruto asked. He draped himself over Kurama's shoulder while the man sat on the couch. The man looked up, reading glasses slipping down his nose. You need friends, Naruto, especially ones your age, he responded. Naruto snorted. I wasn't born yesterday, Rama. Compared to me, you are. Kurama resisted the urge to stick out his tongue. It's cause he's an heir, right? Yes. Kurama gave him a foxy smile. He could be useful in the future. Naruto rolled his eyes. Right. But fighting him will be interesting, the boy's eyes sparkled, imagine. Fighting with bugs. Sugoi. Kurama chuckled before returning his attention to his book. If the boy fought like his father, then it was certain to be interesting. The council has been assembled today to discuss the third teammate of Team 7, Sarutobi's voice rang clear in the chamber. In front of him, the council men and women opened the files at their seats and shuffled through the papers. The front half were Team 7's reports, first Kakashi's, followed by Sasuke and Sakura's. A condensed file of Momoichi's abusive followed that. Then, a list of Team 7's missions. After that, Uzumaki Naruto's file. Sarutobi smirked inwardly when he heard the silence slowly descend upon the room as the occupants reached the same page. A cascade of sound as the councilmen reached the same page at different times. This is outrageous. Not even a shinobi. Hawks. Should kill. Demon. Unfit. Kill us all. Sarutobi stood in front of his council and smiled. He had two options. He could silence them with his killing intent, intimidating them into remembering why he was the Hokage, or he could silence them with the seals on the seat. The first option would give him immense satisfaction, and they would tiptoe around him until they felt that he was calmer. The second would give him the same satisfaction, but with the added benefit that it would showcase Naruto's Fuuinjutsu proficiency. Or he could do both. That was an option too. Silence. He bellowed. They stilled. Even if the seals hadn't activated, the chamber would have been silent anyways. I understand that many of you have your apprehensions. The civilian representative stood up, both hands pressed against the table as he leaned forward to yell, but no sound came from his mouth. It took him several seconds to realize that. Yes. Sarutobi tilted his head towards the man, smiling as he waited for a response. The man drew back, holding his throat as tried to scream a noise out. Around him, other members tested out their vocal cords. Nara Shikaku experimentally tapped at his cords before turning towards the Hokage and raising a brow. Jutsu? He signaled. The other shinobi watched them as the civilians were silently screaming themselves hoarse. Sarutobi shook his head. Now that I have your attention, he continued. From the corner of his eyes he saw the civilians looking at him with panicked expressions. I would like to explain why Naruto is the only choice if the council wants Team 7 to enter the Chuunin Exams when Konoha hosts it. First, however, the council must decide if Team 7's participation in the Chuunin Exams is still a priority. His eyes swept the room. If anyone believes that this is no longer a goal, please stand, seeing as that you cannot speak. If there is not an overwhelming majority one way or another, then we will discuss. The civilians kept staring at each other, unsure. They wanted the last Uchiha to prove himself on home turf, but was it worth giving the demon shinobi status? Would he turn on them once he learned the shinobi arts? But what if they made the Hokage choose someone else to be put on the team? That thought ran rampant in their minds. It ran rampant in the minds of the shinobi too, but their faces were impassive. Sarutobi didn't need the Yamanaka's mind-reading techniques to know the thoughts floating in the civilians' heads. He glanced at his shinobi. He could see the rebellion in their eyes, but it only made him smile on the inside. Shikaku caught his eye again. Sarutobi knew that the man held no ill will towards Naruto, but he did agree that it was the safest option to have the last Uchiha take the exams in Konoha. So he sat, not for the same reasons as a majority of the people in the room, but his stillness seemed to proclaim that he was unity with the majority. That was the consequence of silence. No one stood. Since the council is in a unanimous agreement, we will proceed to the second issue, Naruto as the third genin. Men and women stood again, some shinobi, some with logical reasons, many without. The Hokage spiked his killing intent. They sat down. I will release the seal that silences you all, but I expect there to be a civil discussion, he said as he channeled chakra to his feet. The seal disengaged. Hokage-sama. You can't honestly believe that thing should be made a shinobi. It has no experience. It should be Kai. Tachibana-san. The Hokage yelled. The woman stopped. Did any of you do any research before you began this debate? He sounded like a lecturing professor. People blushed, like bright red lights as their embarrassment mingled with their rage. Shikaku stared at him curiously, having no doubt understood the files just by skimming them. Beside him, his fellow jounin were curiously flipping through the pages. You can't be serious. How can a boy be notable in Fuuinjutsu? It takes seasoned nin years to even understand the basics. Ah, so a shinobi starts this bloodbath off, Sarutobi thought before replying. I assure you that he is proficient. He is not a master, but he will be in several years. Do you have any of his work that we could examine? Shikaku asked. People around the room nodded their heads in agreement, if only because Inara was speaking. Sarutobi nodded. You just witnessed it. His silence seals. The chamber exploded in arguments again. Many of you do not understand Fuuinjutsu, so I will explain this in plain terms. Naruto took many slips of paper, one for each chair, used ink, chakra, and a brush to create a seal that silenced you until I released it. There is no residue of his actions. You cannot trace it back to him, and if he were an enemy, he could have killed you all, he said simply. The left side of the room, where most of the shinobi were, thought contemplatively. The civilians looked worried. Exactly. If he learns more shinobi arts, he could kill us all. A man yelled. And what is keeping him from murdering you in your sleep, Kunimitsu-san? I happen to have documented proof of your actions against the boy, the Hokage responded. The man shrunk back into his seat. Another woman picked up where he left off. He's dangerous. He is a valuable weapon. Of course, Sarutobi rolled his eyes while everyone faced the speaker. Of course, that's what Danzo says. But any support for Naruto is welcome right now. Of course. If you would all turn to page 30, you will see a list of patents that Naruto has for shinobi equipment. The Oinin commander is here to answer any questions about the quality of Naruto's work. Sarutobi gestured to the space beside him, where said person instantly appeared. Okajama, she said as she bowed. He turned back towards the council. But he's not even a genin. Finally a logical complaint. I have seen him do Academy 3. He could do them again in front of an academy teacher, Iruka, if you desire. But a law was passed many years earlier, Kaharu stately silkily, her face impassive, but Sarutobi saw the triumphant gleam in her eyes. The chamber yelled its agreement. Then Team 7 will not be taking their Chuunin exams here. Kaharu frowned. There are plenty of other genin, they would be completely inappropriate, Shikaku stated. He straightened the papers in front of him idly. As Hokage-sama stated in his report and from what we have seen, Uzumaki-kun would be no ordinary genin. If he is fast in creating his seals, he'll be an unknown force to all ninja, regardless of rank. There are few masters left, and even fewer journeymen since younger generations do not want to put in the theoretical legwork. People can boast the basics, but Uzumaki-kun's proficiency is beyond that. And he has been training in the traditional shinobi arts. Shikaku looked away from Kaharu and toward Sarutobi. Yes. Naruto focused on seals, but he is acceptable in taijutsu and ninjutsu. Who has been teaching him? Yamanaka Inoichi asked from his place beside Shikaku. He'd never heard of anyone teaching the boy. In fact, after the boy's 6th birthday, he disappeared. Villagers saw him when he went to buy groceries, but within the past few years, he vanished. The priest from the capital, Sarutobi replied. Thank goodness Kurama's background was ironed out, especially since it was airtight. The priest. His style of taijutsu is very unique. It's as savage as a beast, Sarutobi thought sarcastically. The chamber occupants hesitantly accepted his words. Priests weren't known for their viciousness, whatever taijutsu the boy knew would be inefficient against ninja. They smiled inwardly. And who taught him ninjutsu? Sarutobi could say Itachi, if only to shock them, but then they argue that Naruto would be the second coming of the Uchiha massacre. He could also say Iruka, but he didn't want to complicate the man's life. And unfortunately, he couldn't say himself, or they would mutter about favoritism, and Danzo would start prepping for a war against him. He has a wind affinity. He doesn't know much ninjutsu other than the Academy 3, per se, but can bend the wind to his bidding. Shikaku hummed softly at the diversion. Sarutobi stood his ground, what he said wasn't a lie, Naruto didn't know a lot of ninjutsu. But there are many talented students in the academy who could take the exam. The crowd nodded like mindless sheep. They lack many things. Naruto has the physical strength, the chakra capacity, and the drive. I have seen him fight and can vouch that he could defeat many of the lower Chuunin in our ranks. Seeing that they couldn't shake the Hokage's conviction that the boy was capable, they switched tactics. Then why are we wasting such potential, the woman spat out the word, when we could just promote him to Chuunin? Ah. If they can't prevent Naruto from being a ninja, then they want to keep him away from the last Uchiha, hoping that Naruto will die on a mission. You do know what the Chuunin exam entails, right, representative? He asked calmly. The woman sputtered. Why yes. Then you would know that almost every Chuunin exam has a team portion and that the team must pass through the team portion before they can enter the individual portion. And if Team 7 cannot pass the written and team portion, then they cannot compete in the individual portion, and if a team cannot enter the individual portion, then none of the members of that team can be nominated to be a Chuunin. He smiled. The council was caught. But the law, one person complained weakly. Sarutobi smiled brightly at the man. If only you all followed my laws as rigorously as you followed that one. And if I were any less benevolent, I would have sent Anbu to slit your throat. Will slept for every time that you personally disregarded the law that I passed after the 4th died. Not to mention the times that your families disregarded that law. The temperature in the room plummeted even as the Hokage's smile grew. His killing intent pressed against them from all sides, suffocating them. This was how much anger the Hokage accumulated, how much he endured. Every time that a villager, man or woman, civilian or shinobi, spoke out against the blonde and thought they were getting away with it, the Hokage remembered. He remembered and had bided his time to show his hand. Shikaku didn't have a doubt in his mind that if the Hokage desired it, at least half of the heads in the room would be rolling on the ground for their past transgressions. And the Hokage would have proof for every rolling head. Justification. Uzumaki Naruto was going to be a genin of Konoha. The council agrees with the Hokage's decision to make Uzumaki Naruto the 3rd member of Team 7, which consists of Haruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke. Jounin instructor, Hada Kakashi, Danzo stated at the end of the session. Another small smirk settled itself on the Hokage's face. Danzo's eyes narrowed. Hokage-sama? He asked. The smirk turned into a smile. Well, as you all know, I cannot force a civilian to be a ninja, he must agree, he said pleasantly. The chamber burst into anger again. Then what was the point of this? We will choose a genin from the academy. No. The Hokage glared. This session proved that Uzumaki Naruto is the only qualified person for Team 7 if you want Team 7 to succeed. I cannot force him, but I can negotiate. Since I already know him, I am sure that he will give us favorable terms. If us. Unless you want to lose a potential Fuuinjutsu master to another village. There is no law that says that he must stay in Konoha. Danzo's heart raced. The only thing worse than losing a Fuuinjutsu user was losing a Fuuinjutsu user and a Jinchuriki to another village. It wouldn't weaken Konoha's rank since the boy wasn't in them yet, but it would vastly strengthen their opponents. I want him in, he thought. But first, he had to keep the boy here. What are you going to offer him? Inuzukatsu asked. She had no ill will for the boy, even if the scent of fox disturbed her dogs. It depends on what he asks for. He'll probably ask for nothing. A man in back crooned. This seemed to raise the spirit in the chamber. Sadly, Saratobi couldn't refute that. Shino glanced up at his father from his place at the dinner table. He was about to ask Shibi about the people he met today, but his father asked first. What do you know about Team 7? His father asked abruptly. I am not well acquainted with them, Otu-san, Shino replied hesitantly. It was out of character for his father. His father took a bite of rice. The duo sat in silence. Otu-san, do you know a man named Kaneshiro Kurama? I don't know anyone by that name. Should I? His father asked curiously. No. I met him today and thought that he was an interesting person. Dangerous. Shibi took a bite of his rice. This village is rather large, I cannot meet everyone, but the archives will have information on him, Shibi replied. Why did you find him interesting? Shibi continued, letting a large queen to settle on his shoulder. His chakra was unique. I wanted to know if he had a minor bloodline. That was true. Kurama-san had the same chakra as the plants. Unique like Haddock-san's? Shibi asked, interested. I have not had adequate exposure to Haddock-san's chakra to compare, Shino replied truthfully. Quell your curiosity at the archives. If that does not satisfy you, I will ask Morino-san when I see him next, suggested Shibi. Yes, Otu-san, Shino agreed. He had a feeling that his father would have to call in a favor to the interrogator for Kurama-san's information. When Shino arrived at the Namikaze compound at 6 in the morning, both of its occupants were in the front yard. Hey-oh Shino-kun. Naruto called out happily. Shino's Kakechu reacted by entering the compound and landing on the tree trunk next to the doorway. Good morning, Shino-kun. Perfect timing, Naruto will show you how to take care of the plants. Kurama motioned to the blonde, who smiled happily as he watered the flowers with a clear hose. The ground rippled as the boy's chakra spread into it. Thankfully, the Kakechu weren't too disturbed by the excess chakra, they twittered from their perch. The berries are ripe enough for your Kakechu to snack on, don't worry if they devour them all. Your bugs are also welcome to the herbs that don't have a nameplate, but it's their risk since we don't know what those herbs can do, Kurama supplied when Naruto finished. The boy chattered as he worked and managed to soak Shino's sleeves, and his sunglasses dripped. Shino nodded to Kurama, who shielded his body from the sprays of water with a perfectly positioned newspaper. Shino went over towards Naruto, who was in the herb garden, conversing with the plants. And Iruka thanks you for helping his cough, Muramura. He also gave me a recipe for a burn salve using yours and Ken's leaves, but I hopefully won't have to use it at this, the blonde glared at Kurama, who smirked before entering the house. Naruto-kun, Shino interrupted. Oh. Shino. Come. This is Hiromura, he gestured towards a purple-leaved plant, he's nice for teas, and he helps with coughs. Ken is supposed to be for burns, at least the black-flowered plant wasn't for ingestion. Tsutsu is sweet, so we like to add her to dishes instead of sugar, a flower with pink petals, but everyone else is a little bit of a mystery, Naruto finished sadly. Are those their official names? Nope. Naruto shook his head. But Kurama figured that most of these herbs are thought to be extinct anyways, so no one will mind if we name them what we want. Shino squatted down. He peered at the rows of herbs. Do you know if any of them are poisonous? He eventually asked. Naruto looked up. There's Takashi over there, the blonde pointed towards a curling poison ivy on the wall, and we think that Mina by your feet is a paralytic. The boy shrugged his shoulders. I'll warn my colony, Shino stated as the ivy waved its leaves at him. Don't worry about him, Naruto said with his back to the wall. As long as you're at least 6 feet from him, he won't attack you, and you have a 50-50 chance of that happening, he's a little bipolar. Thank you for the warning. I'll keep it in mind. The Hokage was surprised when he entered the compound to inform Naruto of his possible placement in Team 7. He'd seen a lot there. He'd walked in on Kurama dangling by his ankles as a tree branch held him, witnessed Naruto coaxing the plants on either side of the walkway to intertwine into an arch. After those scenes, he thought that he'd never see anything in that garden that surprised him anymore. And then he saw the Aburame tending to the garden as if he did it every day. I should visit Naruto more, Sarutobi thought to himself. He was glad, pleasantly surprised, that Naruto made a friend, but felt a little disappointed in himself that he wasn't there to witness it. Gigi. He smiled as Naruto gave a joyous shout. He saw Shino turn his head to look at him and then freeze as he realized who he was. Hokage-sama. He gave a deep bow. No need for that, Shino-kun, the Hokage chuckled. Though I need to speak with Naruto. Perhaps you should speak with me first, Hokage-sama, Kurama smiled. He stood in the entry, motioning for the old man to enter. Eh? What for? Naruto narrowed his eyes at the redeed. It's a political issue, was the smooth reply. Naruto looked at the Hokage, who confirmed it. Then I trust the both of you not to screw me over, he huffed and dragged Shino towards the vegetable plot. Don't worry, Naruto. Nothing can be finalized without your signature, the Hokage replied. Naruto nodded. When the two left, Shino asked his fellow gardener, do you trust Kurama-san to negotiate for you? Naruto gave him a wry grin, I don't trust him as far as these vegetables can throw. But I do trust Gigi. If you deem that Naruto is fit to be a Chuunin at the end of the exams, then you will promote him, regardless of what the other judges decide. Naruto will also have access to the Hokage's secret library, it's his birthright anyways, considering his father, but this will give you an excuse to let him in. Thanks, Sarutobi snorted as Kurama continued. This house should be in his name. The documents were sealed after the fourth's death, but I'll unseal them today. And I need assurance that you'll try to keep Danzo away from him, Kurama finished. Sarutobi's eyes narrowed. What does Danzo have to do with this? He's still running under your nose, and he sent sniffers around after the council's decision earlier today. Sarutobi's teacup clattered against the saucer. How do you know this? He asked harshly. I have lived longer than everyone in your village combined. I recognize the handiwork of no matter the guise. I am confined to the compound for now, but Naruto brings me news from all the villages, it's intelligence training for him. The death of Kiri's most influential politician was his work, as was the destruction in Ta no Kuni. You have been busy, but I haven't, I see the patterns. How much do you know? Enough. Kurama flicked in hand in dismissal. When will Naruto have a stable body for you? At the earliest, in 2 months. With him becoming a genin, I suspect he won't finish creating and testing the seals until the Chuunin exams. We already have most of the theory settled. Sarutobi sighed. Danzo's interest has grown, but I will run interference if I can. Kurama nodded his assent. When you gain a stable body, will you be willing to go on some missions? A feral smile spread across Kurama's face, and Sarutobi reminded himself that this man was no man, but a beast. A chance to wreak havoc and destruction. His voice dropped an octave, a deep growl. Perhaps. I have several personal missions that I do not want any record of and do not want to risk my shinobi with. But you don't mind risking me? Sang the fox. You can't die. No, I can't. Naruto knew what Kurama and Gigi were discussing, he didn't know the circumstances, but he knew the outcome. He was a genin. He devoted his childhood to this. As others his age swung from playground sets, ate sweets, and went to festivals with their families, he locked himself in a dust room tracing letters. While they counted the stars in the sky, he counted the strokes in an overlapping seal. While they were children, he prepared himself to be a Fuuinjutsu master. But he'd done it happily. He gave up those trinkets for this being a ninja, becoming the Hokage. He treasured every prank he did, every ramen dinner at Ichiraku's with Iruka, every break with the Hokage, but none of them could compete with the thrill of a functioning sealer a jutsu mastered. He was a child by age, but he was a ninja by heart. Shino left a while ago, and when he left, Naruto bit his lip to keep in his happiness. Genin. It didn't matter what his guardians were negotiating, he was a genin. This was the only time in his life that he wished that he took the written exam, just so he could crumple the pages in his hands and then throw them in the air like a lovesick manga. Genin. Should he celebrate? Act cool? Did Iruka know? What team would he be placed on? Graduation wasn't for months. So he would probably join an existing team, but 4-man teams didn't exist. Either someone quit, were comatose or severely injured, or they died. Quitting so close to the Chuunin exams. No, if they didn't want to participate, they just wouldn't have shown up, not quit. That left severe injury or death, both were equally plausible. An injury meant that the third member couldn't complete missions, it usually wasn't an issue, since the Jounin instructor gave individual practice. A severe injury or being comatose meant that the third member may never recover, so a temporary genin was usually assigned and became a permanent member in the worst-case scenario. The death of a member was self-explanatory. But both those situations require flowers, Naruto thought to himself. It was polite. If the member was injured, he would deliver the bouquet with a get well card, if the member was dead, he would lay it on the grave. He surveyed his garden. It bloomed with various flowers, but he wasn't sure if he could arrange them in a beautiful manner. Did the water ferns look okay with the camellias? Were roses okay even if they had thorns? I'll just buy some. And then prayed that the fox didn't force him to learn flower arrangement. The man was surprisingly frugal with their income, even though the duo rarely used it. I'll buy myself a gift while I'm out, too. He giggled to himself. Maybe he would try that new dango shop. Or maybe buy some new ninja weapons, he'd always wanted to experiment with ninja wire. Naruto happily sang to himself in between bites of dango, ignoring the glare sent his was. None of the villagers could compare to Iruka's "I'm so disappointed in you" stare glare, or Kurama's "my revenge will be sweet" stuck his tongue out when several of them raised their voices at him. Their scowls only made him smile brighter. The Yamanaka's shop was just a little ways away from the village center, so Naruto didn't have to suffer long. Before he knew it, the cheerful sign of the flower shop greeted him. The first thing he noticed was how nice the air conditioning was, the second was the small chiming bell that rang as he opened the door walked in. The third had to be the multitudes of flowers inside. Bouquets of various sizes sat in various sizes of tubs, fresh and dried wreaths hung from every available wall space. Naruto spotted white Annabelle hydrangeas in pots next to tulips and ferns. The shop was a garden. This place is awesome. His fingers traced the edges of leaves and blooms. Haha. I know. A blonde appeared from around a mass of tall bamboo. She grinned at him. Hi. I'm Yamanaka Ino, my family owns this shop. Really? That's so cool. How do you have azaleas this time of year? But man, you guys must love your rhododendrons, he murmured as he spotted several other species. Well, Ino smiled, I'll gladly answer all of your questions, dramatic pause, in exchange for your name. Naruto blushed. He should probably ask Kurama for a recap on those etiquette lessons. Forehead girl. Ino pig. Slow day. Sakura set a box with onigiri on the counter and hopped onto an empty stool. No way. I have to tell you about this blonde guy I met today. Sakura smiled and handed Ino a pair of chopsticks. So, he's our age, but he definitely knows his gardening. He drilled me on soil acidity and the temperature and humidity we kept our greenhouses at, and we talked for an hour about flowers before he said that he was looking for a get-well bouquet. So I helped him out and promised to teach him a little about flower arranging the next time he came. He was pretty cool, not as cool as Sasuke, but pretty cool. And he's genuinely interested in flowers, which you know, most guys our age aren't, but he is, Ino smiled around a bite of onigiri. Sakura giggled at her friend's enthusiasm. He sounds perfect for you. Does that mean you're giving up on Sasuke-kun? She teased. Ino's face did a 180. No way, forehead. But then she tapped her chin and thought, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate other guys. It's nice to have someone my age like flowers as much as I do. He even promised to come back to discuss several species of flowers in his garden that he's trying to crossbreed. That's nice, Sakura smiled sincerely. What's this flower boy's name? Ah, Naruto. Like the ramen topping. Yeah. That's what he said. The two girls burst out laughing. Haha, it kind of fits him. Ino wiped tears from her eyes. But I've never seen or heard of him before today, she realized suddenly. Maybe he's new to the village. Sakura said. Ino nodded. Yeah. You're probably right. There isn't anyone in the village I don't know. She cheered. What? The gossip queen doesn't know someone? Inoichi teased as he came through the door. Addie. Ino leapt over the counter and gave her father a hug. It's nothing. I know him now, so I still know everyone in the village, she grinned. Sakura giggled behind her hand. Ino shot a raspberry towards her. Well, as long as you know everyone, her father laughed before heading towards the back storeroom. But you do know, Ino pig, that if this kid is our age, he has to have parents, and you don't know them, Sakura said slyly as she munched on an onigiri. Ino's shriek of frustration was well worth it, even when Inoichi burst from the storeroom with kunai flying. I'm Back, Naruto called out as he entered. Kurama sat on the couch in the front living room, royal purple smoke curling from his kaseru pipe. The fox tilted his head towards the blonde, eyes distant as he huffed another breath. Did the negotiations go well? Naruto brought a wrapped bouquet with him as he stood behind the couch that Kurama draped himself over. They went well. Kurama still faced away from him, exhaling and inhaling slowly. A tendril of smoke touched Naruto's nose. He scrunched it. That's good. The boy sat in the armchair, watching his companion. It was rare for Kurama to smoke, but he said that it helped clear his mind so that he could see things in perspective. As if the fox could see anything clearly with the amount of smoke in the room. So, I am a genin, right? You didn't go stupid and negotiate a mansion or something instead of that, right? Naruto half teased. With the Kyuubi, he never knew. Kurama grinned at him, canines peeking over his lower lip, and exhaled more smoke. "You're a genin. I adequately sold you into slavery to Konoha. No need to thank me," he replied smoothly. Naruto scowled. "Baka fox," Naruto groused, but it lacked real bite. "Do I get to know what you negotiated for?" The blonde wondered out loud. Kurama glanced at him thoughtfully. "No." Naruto scowled. "Just kidding, kid," Kurama chuckled. "I asked for access to the Hokage's library and the deed to this house." "Library?" "Yes, the secret one that contains scrolls that the Hokages have past accumulated. It's said to hold lost jutsus, especially Fuuinjutsu from Uzushiogakure." "Uzushiogakure?" Naruto tilted his head. "Yes. Known for its Fuuinjutsu, destroyed decades ago, home of that Uzumaki meter you're so fond of." Naruto's face fell for a second before perking back up. "When can I go?" the blonde exclaimed excitedly. He waved his arms in the air, flower petals rained on Kurama, who sneezed. "Ah, Kit. We have to train for your genin team, remember?" "Oh yeah. Sorry. I was just a little excited, Naruto scratched the back of his head. Kurama's lips twitched before his put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. "I'll fix us some dinner," he said as he rose from his seat, his konoshi unwrinkled and silken as he stood. He picked up the bags on the ground and headed towards the front kitchens. "I want yakisoba," Naruto called after the man, who didn't reply. When the man disappeared down the hall, Naruto's eyes slid to the casera pipe on the table, which still emitted its purple smoke. He hovered a hand over it and watched as the smoke curled around his fingers before traveling to his nose. He breathed in the sweet scent and felt a calmness fall over him. "Naruto," Iruka called out as he entered the house. Naruto snapped himself out of it and ran towards the voice. "Iruka-sensei. Guess what?" he called out. It just wasn't Kakashi's day today. Firstly, he had a meeting with the Hokage at 4 in the morning. 4. He hadn't woke up that early since his Anbu days. He rose himself up for the meeting like a good shinobi, and at said meeting, the Hokage looked up from his papers once, said Uzumaki Naruto will be joining Team 7 at the end of your vacation, handed him a file, and dismissed him. He woke up at 4 in the morning for a meeting that lasting less than 30 seconds. And the annoying thing was that Hokage marked the meeting as urgent, so Kakashi had to be on time. Kakashi made his way to the forest by the academy and sat in a tree. He'd have to bide his time until the shops opened so that he could buy himself breakfast. He was going to eat miso soup with eggplant until he exploded. Having Naruto on his team was unexpected but not wholly unwelcome. Kakashi knew firsthand how valuable Fuuinjutsu was. It was versatile, capable of offense, defense, and retreat. The boy was driven, creative, and a chakra powerhouse. If these traits were in any other genin, Kakashi would have thought that Kami was smiling upon him. But these desirable traits were in Uzumaki Naruto, his sensei's son. A boy who reminded him of everyone he'd lost. Reminded him of comrades' corpses left on burned battlefields and homes that remained empty. Who evoked memories so strong that sometimes Kakashi wished that his sensei failed and that Kakashi died. Sometimes he wished that everyone died. Sometimes, he wished that he did more for Naruto. Wished that he raised the baby and protected the child. Wished that he taught the teen that would become a shinobi like his father. Wished that he could be proud of the man that Naruto would become and know that he helped shape that. But he didn't take care of the baby after the Kyuubi attack was over. The Hokage didn't blame him, he was a shinobi, but barely older than a child himself. Kakashi told himself that the boy would be fine, his sensei's legacy would be fine. When guilt tugged on his mind, Kakashi signed up for Naruto babysitting duty just so that he could feel like he didn't completely let down his sensei, but after he quit Anbu, he never saw the child again. And after the council's law, he didn't expect that he ever would. It was one of his deepest, darkest secrets that when the council passed a law banning Naruto from being a shinobi, Kakashi felt relieved. He wouldn't be plagued by ghosts and nightmares every time he saw a glimpse of that golden hair. The Hokage wouldn't have it. Like a true shinobi, Sarutobi went behind the council's back and made sure that Naruto was invaluable. In a week, Kakashi was going to teach his sensei's son. He was going to pretend that they never met, that they had no connection to each other, even though Kakashi was one of only 2 people in the village that knew the boy's parents, and even though Kakashi was second in line for guardianship of the boy if Uraya fell through. And he did. Kakashi buried the skeletons in his closet and made sure that they were more than 6 feet deep. His only problem was that soil didn't hinder ghosts. "Where is he?" a voice asked harshly. Instinctively, Kakashi masked his chakra, tucked Icha Paradise away, and crouched into position. He spied through the leaves and saw a group of Chuunin huddled and murmuring. "Don't worry," the tallest of the pack said, "he always arrives at the academy early." Ah, so they're looking for a teacher, Kakashi thought to himself. Students would never go to school this much earlier. "There he is," one of them hissed. Kakashi turned his head to gaze at the figure who just passed the gates. Brown hair, scar across the nose, ah, you mean no Iruka. The gaggle went towards the man, who took one look at their determined faces, scowled and walked more determinedly towards the academy's front door. Iruka. Tell us where that demon is. Said man ignored them. An arm wrapped around Iruka's shoulder as the owner sidled close. Hey. We've been friends since the academy, right? We just want to give the brat a congratulations gift for making genin. Some of the group snickered behind their hands. Odds, Chuunin. Kakashi rolled his eyes and stalked closer. I remember you telling me we weren't friends after I defended Naruto from you last time. The brunette gave an unimpressed glance at the arm around his shoulder before he brushed it off. The man scowled. Don't be a little bitch, Iruka. Just tell us where the demon brat is and we won't have to hurt you. Knuckles cracked threateningly. Iruka kept walking. Don't turn your back to me. A fist came flying from Iruka's left. The papers in the man's arms hit the ground as the carrier positioned his body for a roundhouse kick. The foot collided with the attacker's chin and instead of sending the man flying, Iruka used his momentum to keep the body on his foot as he clobbered the other members of the group with their leader. Yo. A kunai attached with ninja wire wrapped around Kakashi's neck. Not his smartest idea, shunshining that close to an already tense ninja, but it was 5 in the morning. Kakashi flexed the muscles in his neck to determine how tight the wire coiled. He felt an initial sting before a drop of blood ran out his neck. Oh. It's pretty tight, especially since he's in his home village. Kakashi thought casually. He'd let down his guard because hello, Chuunin, but he was proven wrong. It was a little embarrassing, being taken down by an academy instructor who hadn't gone on a real shinobi mission in years. So he gave an eye smile as the other man peered at him through narrowed eyes. Had Kakashi. What a surprise. Iruka didn't slacken the tension. Ma, do you think this is necessary? Kakashi flicked his eyes down to the wire. The men on the ground groaned. Is it? Iruka raised a brow. I'm not with them. Iruka's eyes assessed him before they widened. Oh. Haddock-san. I'm so sorry. I just reacted. Are you okay? Hold on, I have a band-aid somewhere, Iruka gushed. This is embarrassing. I haven't used a band-aid in years as the Jounin thought as Iruka retracted his wire and gently placed a small band-aid over his cut. Ma, thank you, Iruka-sensei. Are you going to deal with them? Kakashi pointed behind the man. Iruka took a glance back, snorted, picked up his stack of papers, and replied, no. I'll just report them for attacking a fellow Konohan into the Hokage and mention that it was over Naruto. He'll deal with them accordingly. The group gulped before scampering away. Kakashi was duly impressed, sensei was sly. So, Haddock-san. Was there something that you needed? Iruka asked as he straightened the papers in his arms. I overheard that you know Uzumaki Naruto, who just happens to be the new genin on my team. I wanted to ask about him so that I can prepare exercises for our first meeting. Right. As if Kakashi ever spent that much thought into his team before, he just wanted to waste time before breakfast. Iruka must have caught on because he narrowed his eyes. The man witnessed firsthand how the Jounin showed up hours late only to flunk acceptable students and who made it absolutely clear every year that he was being forced to teach. Oh no, if the Jounin wanted to waste time until the food stands opened, Iruka was fully willing to waste his time. Well, Iruka paused, lips pursed in thought before his eyes lit up. I know. If you want to know about Naruto so much, why don't you join us for dinner tonight? The man finished cheerfully. What? That's very generous, Iruka-sensei, but… Oh, don't worry about intruding. He loves invited company. Iruka leaned forward with a smile. Kakashi swore to himself that he would say no, but Iruka looked like one of his nin dogs when they were puppies and there was a subtle threat in his aura. Sure, he relented. Good. I'll pick you up at 6. This day sucked. I need to send this message to Naruto saying that Hada Kakashi is coming over for dinner tonight, okay? Iruka pet the messenger hawk, who saluted with his wing before flying off. Hey Kurama. Do you know a Hada Kakashi? Naruto asked as he entered the living room. The famous Sharingan no Kakashi. The Icha paradise pervert. Kurama raised a brow. Naruto shrugged. Probably. How many guys are named Kakashi? Naru-chan. It's terrifying that even though I've been teaching you, you're still this stupid. Don't you study what I tell you. I'm not book smart. I learn best under pressure. I can arrange that, Kurama grinned evilly. Naruto shivered. I promise to study harder. But Iruka said that Haddock-san's coming over. Kurama's fox ears perked up. Really? He's probably grown a lot since I saw him last. Kurama. Please. Don't torment him like you tormented Jiji, Naruto begged. The fox dismissed his pleas with a wave. I am willing to buy a pet for you, Naruto compromised. Kurama halted. A pet. Deal. But I suggest that we prank him. Kurama-chan, if he's in the bingo books, don't you think he could kill us if we did that? But a prank did seem pretty good. Don't worry. I have a wonderful idea. Ma-sensei. You're right on time. Iruka stood in front of Kakashi's apartment with a bag of groceries. Well, I did say that I'd pick you up at 6, the other man chided. Kakashi glanced at the clock. 6 o'clock and 31 seconds. He sighed. You did. I didn't expect you to know where I live, though. Not many knew. I took a peek at your file while I working at the missions desk today, Iruka shrugged. The taller man's hair deflated with defeat as he locked his door and followed the teacher to wherever his new student lived. After 20 minutes of walking, it was apparent where they were going. The Namikaze compound. Tommy. If we're not going there, I'll stop being late for the rest of my life. They arrived at the Namikaze compound. That was it, there were no gods in the world. That, or they all hated him, which was also very likely. The outside of the compound looked the same as it did 10 years ago, but the inside was bare, devoid of the life he remembered. But with seals those were harder to assess. Iruka reached through the doorway, his arm disappearing as it passed through the seals, and pulled out a slip of paper. Without prompting, Kakashi bit his thumb and smeared blood on the seal. Oh, Kakashi gazed wondrously at the plants that appeared before his eyes. His mask kept his mouth from hitting the ground. Haha. Come on, Iruka chuckled. They slowly walked to the front door, giving Kakashi time to observe his surroundings. Several of the long grasses tickled his legs on he passed. Enzo would love this place, he muttered to himself. Iruka heard and gave him a quick smile. Maybe one day, Iruka opened the door and waved Kakashi in. Hi. Kakashi had a gut feeling that this wasn't a genjutsu. In front of him were scores of females, all blonde and scantily dressed. Some were dressed as Miko priestesses, or, if the state of their clothes were any indication, getting undressed. Others were maids busy with cleaning the floors and dusting, on their tiptoes and stretching while wearing impossibly short skirts. A pair of pig-tailed schoolgirls were studying in a corner, their skirts definitely not regulation length. All of them were beautiful blooms in the sunlight, with impossibly proportioned bodies stuffed into clothes many sizes too small. The first gush of blood shot out like a wound. Surprised, Iruka rushed forwards in a fighting stance that slackened when he saw the scene in the foyer. As one, the females looked towards Kakashi and giggled. Tashi-kun. They cried as they shed their clothes and dogpiled him. Kakashi felt lightheaded as a harem of bodies pressed against him. Hami did love him. He passed out blissfully. Iruka didn't know whether to be proud or disgusted, because as fun as it was to see the infamous copycat nin be taken down like that, the fact that Naruto used that deplorable technique, again, was worrisome. Naruto, back in one piece and mail, guffawed at the platinum-haired man. He cheered and did a victory lap around the unconscious body. Don't be mad, Iruka-sensei. That was my ultimate prank against perverts. The vein ticked in Iruka's forehead. I know, he groused, but what did I say about using your Warak no Jutsu? But that wasn't the Warak no Jutsu, that was the harem no Jutsu, Naruto replied slyly. Besides, don't tell me you don't want to see under his mask. Iruka paused. He was interested. Blackmail pictures it was, then. Kakashi woke up disoriented but comfortable. Half of a blanket covered his legs, his face was mashed up against the cushions, nearly suffocating him, and there was a hot weight on his torso. He's awake. Naruto cheered. Kakashi felt the weight being lifted from his side. Good. It was a nuisance to have the teapot so far away, another voice replied. Teapot. Let me help you up. Iruka pulled him to a sitting position. Teapot. Teapot. Kakashi asked faintly. The redeed in the armchair answered him. It's natural for people to twitch when they wake. The teapot was just a way to alert us. Teapot. Every twitch you made was emphasized, so you couldn't pretend to be asleep. If you really were asleep, your twitch would have toppled the teapot over, the scalding water would have woken you up. If you tried to attack us, you'd be scalded. We were safe no matter what. The redeed gave a devilish grin. Ahem, Iruka cleared his throat, now that Haddock-san's awake, we can move towards the dining room. As they filed out of the room, the redeed walked beside Kakashi. Shisho-san, are you the one who taught Naruto Taijutsu? Kakashi gave an infamous fake eye smile. Call me Kurama, Haddock-san. It's been a long time since I've practiced in a temple. But yes, I have taught Naruto some Taijutsu. The man smiled pleasantly, but Kakashi's instincts were going haywire. There was something strange about this man. Kurama sat across the table from Kakashi. Naruto sat next to the redeed. You fell for my harem no jutsu. Naruto crooned once they settled down. He did a happy dance in his seat. Kakashi twitched. Any red-blooded male. Iruka and Kurama don't react to it, Naruto interrupted. The two mentions smiled at him. Well, Kakashi began again. Geez, when did he become this childish? It's not nice to antagonize your jounin instructor, Naruto, Kurama said. The boy froze, a look of horror in his eyes. Ha! So he didn't know. Kakashi did a mini dance in his head. He's my. Itadakamasu. Haruka cheered from beside Kakashi. The three adults took another glance at a pale Naruto whose mouth was gaping like a fish, laughed, and began eating. Maybe having Naruto on his team wouldn't be so hard. What if Council begged Uzumaki Naruto to join it so that Team 7 can enter the Chuunin Exams? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.